Chapter 10:24. 18 Young Meridians. Su Fang had been waiting for the stars and the moon. He hadn't expected his wish to come true. The 9 transformations had a total of 9 realms, 9 variables, and 9 transformations. Similarly, 9 represented the extremity of heaven and earth. Once the 18 Yang Meridians were formed, Su Fang would be able to step into the second transformation of the 9 transformations. It was impossible to predict. This Yang Meridian is about to be successfully formed, but it still needs some time to break through. All of his attention was focused on the 18th Yang Meridian. It had fused with his meridians and was on the verge of turning into a jade-like state. The sealed world fragment allowed all of his Yang Meridian's energy and his entire body's energy to circulate through a grand cycle. It began to fiercely attack the 18th Yang Meridian. Buzz. Just one attack caused his meridians to feel like they were about to explode. From this, it could be seen how inconceivable it was for Su Fang's robust true qi to attack a Yang Meridian. From another angle, it could be seen that this Yang Meridian had undergone countless years of cultivation. Its internal space had already become extremely shocking. Why did the 18th Yang Meridian suddenly reach its peak? Even when I broke through to the 5th Tao opening realm, I didn't feel my meridians reach their peak. Within the waves of impact, some questions appeared in Su Fang's mind. He focused on the 18th Yang Meridian once more. But after a while, he focused on the sealed world fragment. When I refined Sovereign Ba Mo's left hand, the Yang Meridian didn't move. Instead, I took out the world fragment and used it to absorb the Heaven Light Flame's energy. Then I sent the world fragment into the Yang Meridian's space and merged it with the Yang Meridian's energy. It seems the world fragment absorbed a large amount of energy from the Heaven Light Flame seed. Then it invisibly poured that energy into the Yang Meridian and my physical body. That's how the 18th Yang Meridian obtained some kind of energy and reached its peak. The 18th Yang Meridian, and every other Yang Meridian in the past, required a certain amount of opportunity to form. This opportunity must be the Heaven Light Flame seed. After examining the Yang Meridian and thinking back to everything that had happened, he suddenly figured it out. He once more focused on the Heaven Light Flame seed. He hadn't expected this mysterious spiritual item to be so extraordinary. While Su Fang was completely absorbed by the exotic flame seed, Luo Zixin suddenly said, "I reckon that after you devour this exotic flame seed, the power of the Savior in your body will increase significantly." "Why?" Hearing Lao's voice, Su Fang immediately recovered. Luo Dao said, "Because I sensed that the heavenly flame seed contained a certain amount of the aura of the world's upheaval. This aura is because the heavenly flame seed absorbed the power of the upheaval, causing it to become like a tribulation taker. It contains the power to face the tribulation. The deviant flame seed contains the power to face calamity." Su Fang's heart trembled. He was a little scared. Tribulation takers are powerful. I have 2 friends in the small world who are both tribulation takers. Moreover, both of them have extraordinary talent and have surpassed most cultivators. But this power seems to be. You once said that the power of a tribulation taker isn't easy to control. Furthermore, tribulation takers are born with the upheaval, and their power to face the tribulation is the same. Doesn't that mean that the fate of a tribulation taker will change with the upheaval? I don't know about that. The upheaval is the most profound thing in the world. Immortals can't touch its true secrets. Fortunately, you only possess a small amount of the power to face the tribulation. Even if you fuse with the Heaven Light Flame seed, your power to face the tribulation won't be comparable to those tribulation takers. Don't worry, such a small amount of the power to face the tribulation won't affect a person's fate. However, people like you and I who possess the power to face the tribulation have long been tightly integrated with the upheaval. I feel that the power to face the tribulation is extraordinary. Moreover, I also need the Heaven Light Flame seed. I can't care about the future. Living well in the present is the most important thing. At this moment, he suddenly thought of Li Haojie and Zhang Ruoyun. Li Haojie and the Lord of Five Poisons had joined the White Cloud Immortal Palace. As for Zhang Ruoyun, she was probably still in the small world. However, with her status, she would soon ascend to the great world. Buzz. His body shook violently again. When he came back to his senses, it turned out that the 18th yang meridian in his body had finally formed after countless surges of true qi throughout his body. It burned with a pure yang flame. It was no longer an ordinary meridian. Instead, it was a jade-like meridian that was filled with abundant yang qi. The 18th yang meridian is finally formed. I'm about to step into the second transformation. His body and mind were focused on the 18th yang meridian. Then, he released all the pure yang true qi of the 17 yang meridians and the 9 yin frost qi that he had absorbed from the origin sacred realm into the 18th yang meridian. It felt like a great river surging into the ocean. Heaven and earth roared with divine might. Su Fang's body was filled with surging momentum. After a while, it seemed like the 18th yang meridian that had just formed possessed astonishing yang qi. Then, it suddenly burned with flames along with the 10th to 17th yang meridians. Then, the 9 yang meridians actually changed their positions. After gradually moving, they formed an irregular circular state. Then, they connected tail to tail, and all the yang qi fused into one. This was the fusion of qi in the meridians after cultivating the 9 yang 9 transformations to the second transformation. It was similar to the qi circulation of the meridians. The 9 yang meridians of the first transformation also turned into this state. Now, the 9 yang meridians of the second transformation are also the same. It seems like I have 2 yang meridians that formed a yang qi space. Su Fang looked at the depths of his meridians. He could not hide the excitement in his heart when he saw the 2 yang meridians formed a yang qi space on the left and right. Just when he thought that the second transformation was in such a state, he did not expect the newly formed yang meridians of the second transformation to start moving again. They were like long fireflies that moved outside the 9 yang veins of the first transformation. Then, the transformation continued. The yang veins of the second transformation slowly spread out, their tails connected to the 9 yang veins of the first transformation, and slowly extended outwards. Gradually, they surrounded the 9 yang meridians of the first transformation. The 2 yang qi spaces on the left and right actually formed an inner and outer yang qi space. The transformation was over. At least Su Fang thought so. Who knew that the tails of the first transformation's yang meridians would suddenly spread out and wrap around the outer yang meridians? The tails of the second transformation's yang meridians also moved and finally formed a yang meridian's long snake. Su Fang was unable to explain or interfere with it. When the 18 yang meridians truly calmed down, he saw that the 18 yang meridians had formed a yang meridian spiral. They formed 2 circles, with the first yang meridian at the center of the inner circle and the 18th yang meridian at the end of the outer circle. It seemed that the 18 yang meridians had fused together to form a spiral yang qi diagram that was extremely similar to a yang meridian vortex. It stopped. Su Fang rubbed his eyes. He looked at the 18 yang meridians that were connected to each other and formed an unfamiliar spiral vortex. He was greatly shocked. I never would have thought that after the second transformation, all the yang meridians would link together to form such a strange diagram. The yang meridians had calmed down, but when the yang qi of the 18 spiraling yang meridians began to fuse with the circulating true qi, a fierce aura exploded out. Su Fang felt as if his body had suddenly become like a raging river. His blood and true qi flowed 10 times faster than before he had reached the second transformation. His true qi and energy surged through the 18 spiraling yang meridians, crazily surging and circulating from the bottom of his feet to the top of his head, from a minor cycle to a major cycle. Furthermore, the world fragment took the initiative to come to the center of the inner circle of the 18 meridians. It floated in the middle of the yang energy world and continued to absorb the yang qi released by the 18 yang meridians, transforming it into the power of the yin-yang world. At that moment, Su Fang saw the direction of the energy circulation in his body. After the true qi in his body passed through the countless meridians and black lotus blood threads to complete a minor cycle, it went through a major cycle and was finally absorbed by the 18th yang meridian in the outer circle of the spiraling yang meridians. It entered the 17th yang meridian and finally entered the first yang meridian in the inner circle. Following that, all the energy was absorbed by the world fragment from the first yang meridian. Finally, after fusing with the world fragment, a shocking power of the yin-yang world surged out and was released. It was absorbed by the 18 spiraling yang meridians, causing the 18 yang meridians to emit a blinding starlight. It felt like there were 18 galaxies in a galaxy. Major changes after the 9 yang 9 transformations reached the second transformation. His overall luck, energy circulation path, and method had changed. Turned out that reaching the second transformation had such a shocking change. At that moment, he did not think about anything else. He even fused with the heaven-light anomaly fire. Instead, he immediately peeled off a yang immortal and entered the primordial chaos sacred realm. When he arrived at the mysterious scarlet divine artifact space, Su Fang saw a familiar scene. Now, he could finally barely move. After releasing his will and yang energy, Su Fang slowly waited. Not long after, a familiar 9 cold energy swept over from the depths of the void. It seemed to be sucked into the primordial chaos sacred realm out of thin air. Then, the familiar mysterious woman's voice sounded. The 9 yang quintessential qi you released is so pure. It contains a lot of circulating divine might. Congratulations on cultivating 18 yang meridians and stepping into the second transformation. Senior, after I stepped into the second transformation, the yang meridian turned into a spiral state. Not much time had passed. Knowing that the mysterious woman had come and gone in a hurry, Su Fang voiced many of his doubts. Especially the changes in the form of the 18 yang meridians. After a moment, the mysterious woman said, I understand. I also know what the second transformation is like. Your 18 yang meridians have now turned into 2 spiral vortexes. Furthermore, the first yang meridian in the middle is connected to a world fragment. In fact, this is a kind of great Tao. It is also the most mysterious supreme heavenly Tao among the countless great Tao. Su Fang pricked up his ears, not daring to miss a word. Supreme Heavenly Tao. The Heavenly Tao is the universe. It represents the creation of the stars and life. The earliest days are also the creation of the universe. Rumor has it that the more ancient the era, the more ancient the world was. There was nothing. Later, a bit of light gradually extended out from the darkness of the void. Only then did the world gradually gain color, matter, and life. At this moment, the pattern formed by the yang meridian in your body and the world fragment is what many people think is a kind of heavenly Tao phenomenon. Some people also say that it is a phenomenon of life. Don't you think that the spiral vortex state of the 18 yang meridians is very similar to the growth rings of trees and the navel of the human body? It really is very similar to the growth rings and the navel. If he hadn't seen it, he wouldn't have known. Now that the mysterious woman had said it, Su Fang also felt that it was similar to the growth rings of trees and the navel of the human body. The growth rings represent the age of the tree and its lifespan. That is the sign of the heavenly Tao. The navel of the human body has also been called the source of life since ancient times. It is the passage through which the human body absorbs nutrients from the mother's body. It also symbolizes life. In ancient texts it is also called the Xiantian Eye. The sign of the heavenly Tao, the Xiantian Eye. Chapter 10:25. The Sign of the Heavens. The celestial eye. What kind of existences were these? Su Fang was an immortal who cultivated in the constellation of 9 heavens, but he didn't know about these things. The mysterious woman slowly said, "Lifespan. Everything has a lifespan. This is a type of fate. The mortal world says that the sea changes into mulberry field. This means that even matter isn't eternal. As for life, it's even more fragile. If it weren't for the creation and correction of humanity's ancestors, humanity would still be at the bottom of the food chain. This also means that everything has a fate. Matter will disappear. Life will grow. Nothing is eternal. Our path of cultivation also has a lifespan. This kind of lifespan can be said to be fate. A person's fate is the ruler of everything. When all of this is gathered together, when people pursue the truth of cultivation and pursue the endless Great Tao, the Great Tao also has life. You should understand a bit more. Everything is reincarnated. Everything has its own fate. Whether it's matter, life, or the cultivation method we cultivate, the endless Great Tao we pursue, they all have their own fate. They all have their own laws. Naturally, it's an endless cycle. Naturally, it's also incomparably cruel. Although this junior doesn't really understand, I've heard some things. According to senior's description, whether it's matter or the Great Tao we pursue, even the laws of nature, they all have their own fates. You really are smart. This kind of fate is everywhere. Therefore, if cultivators want to break through fate, they also have to search for the secrets of fate. Speaking of which, it's the vortex you've cultivated. This junior is all ears. As I said before, everything has its own fate. The 9 Yang 9 transformations technique pursues the supreme heavenly Tao. Therefore, the vortex your 18 Yang veins have formed is a kind of heavenly Tao seal. It's like a pair of eyes. Through your cultivation, you can clearly see the direction of the heavenly Tao. These eyes and the heavenly Tao seal are your fate of cultivating the 9 Yang 9 transformations technique. Originally, this heavenly Tao seal was called the Wheel of the Heavenly Tao, but in the 9 Yang 9 transformations technique, it's called the Pure Yang Tao Wheel. Wheel of the Heavenly Tao. So my 18 Yang meridians form a Pure Yang Tao Wheel. Then does that mean senior's 9E9 transformations also have a Pure Yang Tao Wheel? Your brain is really flexible. Not bad, you cultivate the 9 Yang 9 transformations and you have a Pure Yang Tao Wheel. I cultivate the 9E9 transformations and I have a Pure Yang Tao Wheel. Once we meet and cultivate the 9 Yang 9 transformations and the 9E9 transformations, then our Pure Yang Tao Wheel and Pure Yang Tao Wheel can become the 9 Yang 9 transformations and the Real Yin Yang Tao Wheel. Yin Yang Tao Wheel. All of a sudden, after coming into contact with so many secrets, the young immortal of Su Fang was like a piece of wood, unable to move at all. The mysterious woman's tone softened. The Yin Yang Tao Wheel is still very far away. Now that you have formed a Pure Yang Tao Wheel, it means that you have truly stepped through the cultivation threshold of the 9 Yang 9 transformations. You have also begun to embark on a cultivation path that pursues the heavenly Tao. Furthermore, not everyone has a heavenly Tao Wheel. Cultivators who have a heavenly Tao Wheel are true peerless geniuses. I believe you won't be able to find many people like that in the entire great world. In that case, cultivating the world Tao is actually cultivating the supreme heavenly Tao. The world is the heavens, the earth, and the world is the heavenly Tao. That's all I have to say. Continue working hard. In the future, as you continue to grow stronger, your horizons will be broadened by yourself. Swish. The 9 Yin Frost Chi suddenly swept towards the crimson world behind her and disappeared. Once again, before Su Fang could come back to his senses, the mysterious woman had completely disappeared. The young immortal immediately flew out of the primordial chaos sacred realm. When he returned to his main body, Su Fang subconsciously touched his lower abdomen with his hand. Then, he released his great perfection ability into his body. Once again, he saw the 18 yang meridians that had formed 2 circles. They were like a snail's shell. This was the pure yang Dao wheel of the 9 yang 9 transformations cultivation technique. It was also a heavenly Dao wheel that only peerless geniuses could possess. It turned out that it had such an extraordinary background. Su Fang felt like he had obtained a rare treasure. He carefully sized up the 18 yang meridians. His strength was mainly from the 18 yang meridians. Finally, it surged into the world fragment. Through the cultivation of the world fragment, what surged out was the power of the yin-yang world. He settled down and calmed himself down. Everything was like an ocean. Slowly, he activated the 9 yang 9 transformations. The 18 yang meridians and the world fragment instantly began to explode with earth-shattering movements. The power of the pure yang and the power of the yin-yang world filled every corner of his body. According to the circulation of the great heavenly cycle, Su Fang was more than 10 times stronger than before. This time, Su Fang's cultivation speed had reached an unprecedented height. To be able to have such a cultivation speed in the cave immortal realm, Su Fang seemed to have foreseen that from today onwards, his cultivation speed would surpass all immortals. Now let's use the great giant diamond body, Herculean divine palm, an indestructible golden body. He suddenly floated up in the crucible transformation realm. After forming the seal, his whole body unexpectedly released the surging yin-yang world qi. It even had a slight divinity, because this was Su Fang's true qi and energy. What devil, demon, star palace qi, in front of the yin-yang world qi, were not worth mentioning. Even the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's Yellow Springs blood sea did not have such divine might. Qi Su Fang's body unexpectedly flashed with a large amount of dazzling golden electric current. After a burst of electric sparks, the muscles and bones in his body actually grew in reverse, causing Su Fang to instantly become more than 3 zhang tall. He was like a giant, a monster transformed from a giant demon. This was the great giant diamond body. A set of golden robes naturally appeared around his body. It had an ancient, familiar, and unfamiliar pure yang qi, as well as mysterious golden Dao marks. Herculean divine palm. Clang! His arms suddenly shook. When the big bow was drawn, he raised his palm high in the air, shooting out 2 10 huge golden palm prints. The divine might of these 2 golden palm prints actually shook away the divine might of the crucible transformation realm array. This was the Herculean divine palm. Then, he formed another seal. Many golden imprints appeared on his robes, tightly adhering to his flesh and skin. This was the indestructible golden body. The Herculean divine palm focused on offense, while the indestructible golden body focused on defense. One for offense and one for defense, coupled with the great giant diamond body, this was simply the legendary war god. After activating it for a while, when Su Fang returned to his normal state, he was so tired that he was panting. Activating the great giant diamond body consumed too much true qi. However, he was too excited. After reaching the second transformation of the 9 Suns 9 transformations, his overall strength had greatly increased. Activating the great giant diamond body was also so fast. The key was the formation of the pure yang Dao wheel. His overall strength and true body were all linked together. Next is to fuse with the heavenly light strange fire. He came to the center and sat down cross-legged. He took out immortal stones and condensed an altar in the crucible transformation realm. He needed a large amount of spirit qi, so he also swallowed hundreds of mid-grade immortal essence pills. With the energy, Su Fang held the heavenly light strange fire in his palm. Looking at the slowly burning heavenly light strange fire seed, he focused slightly. Since my pure yang Dao wheel symbolizes the heavenly Dao and is the source of power, I will inject the heavenly light strange fire seed into the pure yang Dao road formed by the 18 yang meridians and let the yang meridians fuse. Not only will it have the power of yang, but it will also have the supreme power of fire. This way, when I get more strange fire seeds in the future, I can turn the pure Yang Dao wheel into the fire vein of the Fire Cloud Emperor physique and cultivate the Fire Cloud Emperor physique. He had already successfully cultivated the Yang meridians. If he fused the heavenly light strange fire with another meridian, he would have to start all over again. How many years would that take? If he directly fused the strange fire seed with the Yang meridians, wouldn't it allow the Yang meridians to have the power of fire? In the future, the Yang meridians would also be a fire vein. Coincidentally, he was also cultivating the Yang meridians. This was equivalent to cultivating the fire vein and the Fire Cloud Emperor physique at the same time. Thinking of this, he did not hesitate to release his power towards the heavenly light strange fire. Don't be afraid, fuse with me. I have the power you like in my body. He did not know if the heavenly light strange fire seed knew, but Su Fong could not hide the ecstasy in his heart. After releasing his power, he suddenly sucked the heavenly light strange fire seed into his stomach and slowly came to the pure Yang Dao wheel formed by the 18 Yang meridians. Until he came to the side of the world fragment, Su Fong immediately activated the 9 Yang 9 transformations. His pure Yang energy and the power of the world of Yin and Yang crazily surged. Through the pure Yang Dao wheel formed by the 18 Yang meridians, they finally poured into the heavenly light strange fire seed and the world fragment. Hua Hua Hua. Next, all the power in his body poured into the strange fire seed. It felt the power of the pure Yang energy, as well as the pure Yang true fire. It started to fuse with Su Fong's power. It was as if it wanted to suck out all the power in Su Fong's body. Su Fong was also covered in cold sweat. But not long later, flames with the power of the world of Yin and Yang surged out from the strange fire seed. This flame that contained Su Fong's power was the power of the heavenly light strange fire. The heavenly light strange fire finally began to fuse with Su Fong. After devouring Su Fong's power, it began to fuse with Su Fong's body. Su Fong, who originally felt that he was about to collapse, suddenly welcomed this majestic and terrifying burning power of the strange fire. The 18 Yang meridians were actually trembling. Even Su Fong felt that the strange fire surging out of his body was about to burn his body. It was too terrifying. This was the power of the heavenly light strange fire. It surpassed Su Fong's realm and reached an astonishing height. It could burn 10,000 Su Fangs. Fortunately, this burning strange fire contained the power of Su Fong. Otherwise, he would have been burned to ashes. Chi. Unexpectedly, after absorbing the power of the strange fire and fusing with it for a while, Su Fong, who was trembling in fear and whose body was like a furnace, suddenly spat out a burst of tribulation fire from his body. He broke through. Previously, he was in the 5 Dao Cave Immortal Realm. Unexpectedly, he could break through to the 6 Dao Cave Immortal Realm after just fusing with a part of the power of the heavenly light strange fire. He stopped fusing with the strange fire first and let the strange fire absorb the power in his body. Su Fong flew out of the crucible transformation realm and came to the forest with the sensing array. In the center of countless big goblin quietly cultivating, a dazzling tribulation fire began to burn. The power of advancement and the various impact forces caused Su Fong to be in a state of shock. Most importantly, his tribulation fire contained a special kind of pure Yang flame. It seemed that after fusing with the heavenly light strange fire, his body had begun to change. After the impact of the advancement, when the tribulation fire disappeared, astonishing impurities appeared in the embryonic coat. At this moment, Su Fong saw that his golden origin core, Dantian, physical seal, and divine aperture had one more Dao path, turning from 5 to 6. He had entered the 6 Dao Cave Immortal Realm. He released his senses and found that the transformation was very shocking. However, he didn't care about it. After swallowing the elixir, He returned to the crucible transformation realm and continued to fuse with the strange fire seed. However, he didn't cultivate for long this time. When his body absorbed half of the power of the heavenly light strange fire and his body was burning with pure yang flames, Su Fang actually spat out tribulation fire again. He broke through again. This time, he suddenly advanced from the 6 Dao Cave Immortal Realm to the 7 Dao Cave Immortal Realm. Chapter 10:26. It came too quickly and suddenly. Su Fang was not prepared. Previously, when he broke through to the 6 Dao realm, the energy in his body was empty, and the transformation of his body caused his true qi to be very thin. But unexpectedly, after absorbing the power of the heavenly light strange fire, his body that was like an empty shell quickly recovered. The heavenly light strange fire was the spirit of heaven and earth. It absorbed a lot of energy in the silent flame planes, and it itself came from outside the heavens, so it was naturally not something Su Fang's cave immortal body could contain. Just as he was breaking through to the 7 Dao realm, Law suddenly spoke from the blood jade. You have to slow down your improvement. Su Fang naturally did not understand. Wasn't he just using this power to break through? Law explained. The heavenly light strange fire is not just a kind of power, it is also a kind of divine power of heaven and earth. You are not just absorbing the heavenly light strange fire to break through, right? I am cultivating the illusory fire cloud. I have the fire cloud emperor body. That's success. You're absorbing the heavenly radiance flame seed without restraint. You're just absorbing its power to help you level up. However, you're not letting the heavenly radiance flame attack your body. Instead, you're letting it merge with every corner of your body and meridians. I understand. Now that I am about to break through to the 7 Dao realm, I will not absorb the remaining half of the power, but activate the illusory fire cloud, guiding the power of the heavenly light strange fire to attack my body. After Su Fang understood, Law did not speak anymore. Fortunately, Law spoke in time, otherwise, Su Fang would really absorb the heavenly light strange fire as energy. This way, the heavenly light strange fire would only fuse with his body. After the breakthrough to the 7 Dao realm, the tribulation fire disappeared, leaving behind only the impurities. At this time, he had stepped into the 7 Dao realm. His body was full of 7 Dao marks, and his great perfection ability could cover more than 10 miles of forest. Then, his body was incomparably empty. After stepping into the 7 Dao realm, his body was several times deeper than before. With the previous true qi, how could it fill his body? But in this state, Su Fang actually stopped the energy. He only consumed a lot of pills, and then focused on the pure Yang Dao wheel. The pure Yang Dao wheel formed by the 18 Yang meridians in his body was filled with burning energy under the light of the heavenly light fire. At this moment, he no longer took the initiative to let his body absorb any energy. Instead, he sealed his body and used the 9 Suns' 9 transformations. He crazily fused with the heavenly flame seed, causing the heavenly flame seed to shrink continuously. A vast amount of pure yang flames surged out and burned continuously in the depths of his body. At this moment, his body was slowly burning with flames. Because it was not absorbed into his meridians, flesh, blood, bones, array formations, golden core origins, or world fragments, the power of fire released by the heavenlight mystical fire could only burn in his body. Su Fang then used the great cycle of heavenly cycle to control the flames from the heavenly light strange fire with his divine power. It began to roll into the depths of his body and slowly spread to every corner of his body. His arms, legs, flesh, blood, bones, chest, and brain were all slowly burning with the heavenly light strange fire. He continued to wait. After a long time, the heaven-light strange flame actually turned from the size of a fist into a grain. Finally, it exploded and disappeared without a trace. The disappearance of the heaven-light strange flame seed meant that it had completely recognized Su Fang. The seed had disappeared and turned into an endless burning heaven-light strange flame. At this moment, it blocked every part of Su Fang's body and burned his flesh and blood tirelessly. At this moment, Su Fang was in a sealed state of his body. His skin no longer absorbed any external spiritual energy, and his body no longer absorbed the heaven-light strange flame. Instead, he let the heaven-light strange flame burn his body naturally. It naturally fused with the life force of his body, the pure yang energy, and the power of the yin-yang world through burning. But to Su Fang, this was incomparably painful. His skin was still an ordinary color, but it soon turned blood-red. Even his face was the same, becoming red. Even his head became fiery red, revealing an invisible divine power of fire. This was because the heaven-light's strange flame was burning in his body. Its power, its terrifying divine power of fire, through burning in his body, was helping Su Fang to burn away the impurities and truly fuse with Su Fang's body and true qi. Su Fang sat cross-legged in the center of the crucible transformation. He did not care whether he was in the constellation of 9 heavens or in the desolate swamp astral world, nor did he care about the cultivation of the junior commanders outside. He let everything stop and let the flames of the heaven-light strange flame actively fuse with his meridians, flesh and bones. Squeak, squeak, squeak. During this process, impurities constantly surged out of the placenta, bursting out small sparks. Su Fang was not cultivating any cultivation technique, but the divine power of fire that he released seemed to be cultivating some great magical power. After a long time, no more impurities came out of the placenta, as if it had been purified completely. Su Fang slowly opened his eyes. His pupils were the color of fire. There are no impurities in my body. Through burning, my body and true qi have accepted and fused with the heaven-light strange flame. Now, I can cultivate the illusory fire cloud and begin to attack my body. The fire cloud emperor body is cultivated from a part of the body and turned into a true body. For example, I cultivate the yang meridian from the meridians, and the black lotus true body from the black lotus blood thread. Now that I only have one heaven-light strange flame, it is impossible for my body to cultivate a part of the fire cloud emperor body. Cultivators are best at using their hands. I will start cultivating the fire cloud emperor body from my hands, turning them into dragon-taming wood with special fire-type divine power. My dragon-taming wood left arm is already very powerful. I can freely use wood-type divine power. If I can cultivate my hands to an amazing fire-type divine power, I can use them as weapons in the future to fight against strong enemies. At this moment, he made up his mind to start cultivating the fire cloud emperor body from his hands. Therefore, he began to use the illusory fire cloud cultivation technique. From the countless cultivation techniques, he found a way to cultivate a special physique. There were not many ways. He still had to use a special flame to fuse with the true qi in his body. Then, he began to open up his body's meridians and flesh, fusing it with the true qi and fire-type divine power. Only then could his body possess fire-type divine power. It was naturally not easy to cultivate the fire cloud emperor body. He estimated that such a heaven-light strange flame seed could only allow his hands to cultivate a special existence that was close to the true body. After using the cultivation technique, the illusory fire cloud divine power began to spread throughout his body. All the flames that had seeped into countless corners of his body began to surge towards his hands. These flames turned into a special burning fire cloud through the cultivation of the illusory fire cloud cultivation technique. This fire cloud was the combination of Su Fang's true qi and the heaven-light strange flame. The flames in his body were no longer just the heaven-light strange flame, but a flame that had fused with Su Fang's special true qi and life force. This kind of flame could be called the yin-yang heaven-light strange flame. However, after cultivating the illusory fire cloud cultivation technique, the heaven-light strange flame disappeared in the end. The pure yang true fire also disappeared. In the end, it became the true illusory fire cloud, a terrifying burning fire cloud. Under the cultivation of the illusory fire cloud cultivation technique, the flames in his body gradually turned into burning flames that resembled clouds. This was a fire cloud. This was the form of the illusory fire cloud's flames. They were not ordinary burning flames, but fire clouds that resembled clouds. The pure yang true fire that had fused with the fire vein essence lotus had also turned into a fire cloud. His entire body was burning with fire clouds that surged crazily into his hands. However, at this moment, Su Fang's skin had returned to normal. However, his palms and wrists had turned scarlet red again. Gradually, waves of black smoke began to emit. This was because the heaven-light's strange flame that had fused with his body had turned into an illusory fire cloud. It was concentrated in his palms and began to burn crazily. His hands trembled unconsciously, causing sparks to sizzle incessantly. He had the illusion that his hands were about to be burned to ashes by the fire cloud. His skin was burning red. One could see countless meridians beneath his skin, and even the surging illusory fire cloud. Su Fang swallowed the immortal elixir again. At this moment, he began to activate the 9 Yang 9 transformations and began to cultivate. He condensed power in his body, striving to increase his strength again during the process of his hands fusing with the illusory fire cloud. Moreover, the heaven-light's strange flame still had a lot of power left in Su Fang's body. When it fused with his true qi, it was equivalent to increasing Su Fang's strength by a lot. As long as he cultivated and attacked for a while, he was confident that he would break through to another realm. Fortunately, he had completely fused with the heaven-light's strange flame, so he could release an astonishing amount of pure yang true fire without activating the illusory fire cloud. When he used the illusory fire cloud again, it had reached a terrifying level. With his 7 Dao cave immortal realm cultivation, the illusory fire cloud could burn any cave immortal to death. He could even kill some weak heavenly immortal realm experts with the illusory fire cloud. Fusing with the heaven-light's strange flame had greatly increased the power of the illusory fire cloud. This was the transformation and reward that Su Fang had obtained by risking his life to seize the heaven-light's strange flame. Qi. The familiar burning sound suddenly broke the burning state of the 2 palms that were in the midst of cultivation. He had broken through again. Su Fang immediately left the crucible transformation realm and returned to the forest. In the middle of the quietly cultivating junior commanders, Su Fang began to break through the 7 Dao cave immortal realm and enter the 8 Dao cave immortal realm. With the explosion of the impact, the tribulation fire burned like a furnace. Su Fang, who was sitting cross-legged, was still full of impurities. Waves of impact came from his body, causing him to constantly tremble. After a long time, as the tribulation fire disappeared, he suddenly swallowed hundreds of middle-grade immortal pills. At this time, his skin was as white and tender as a baby. The texture was also black and soft, revealing an astonishing aura of life. Looking at his body, there were 8 Dao marks everywhere. 8 Dao cave immortal realm. I didn't expect that in just a few decades, I would step into the 8 Dao cave immortal realm. There is one more realm, the 9 Dao cave immortal realm, and then I can step into the heavenly immortal realm. In about 10 years, I have the confidence to start breaking through to the heavenly immortal realm. Sure enough, I came out to experience life and death. Only by experiencing life and death and obtaining rare treasures can I break through and continue to break through. This is something that the heavenly treasure mysterious realm cannot compare to. The heavenly treasure mysterious realm is always a space to experience magic treasures. It is equivalent to being forced to cultivate, but in this wasteland it is survival. After meeting the death god again and again, I can obtain fortuitous encounters and become stronger. Next, I will cultivate for a while and reach the 8 Dao cave immortal realm. After cultivating my palms for a while, I can leave this forest and find the source of the ancient devil golden core, which is the mysterious devil's ruins. After stepping into the 8 Tao realm, everything changed. His state of mind naturally changed. Slowly, he had a familiar feeling of being an expert. Releasing the perfection stage ability, with the forest as the center, he could roughly sense the surrounding 20 miles of the wasteland forest. As long as there was movement, it would not escape his senses. Unless it was a peerless elder-level expert like Sovereign Bamo Su Fong also had a feeling that with his current strength, he had surpassed the toad monster Lu Xiong. Even Bai Ling's strength was probably surpassed by him. But Bai Ling had the Chaos Ring and was always incomparably strong. Counting with his fingers, he had cultivated here for a full 10 years. It was about time. With the 8 Tao Cave Immortal Realm cultivation and the Heavenly Radiance Strange Fire, his harvest was really shocking. Activating the Xian Wang 6 Paths Pagoda, he sucked all the junior commanders into the magic treasure space. The Void Dust Cauldron also returned to his body. Using the 8 Tao Cave Immortal Realm alone, he flew out of the forest quickly. Chapter 10:27. After entering the 8th Tao Cave Immortal Realm, Su Fong was like a fish in water in this wasteland. As long as he used his full circle ability, he would be able to sense most of the shackles. This way, the threats would be further away from him. In addition, his various abilities had also evolved. Now, his abilities in this wasteland were similar to that of a Sky Immortal. Sky Immortal. In the greater world, he was already a recognized and respected expert. Most immortals, whether it was mystiques, abilities, or other aspects, were far superior to cave immortals. The Great Circle's ability is truly wondrous. Even in this wasteland, it can help me sense anything that's happening a few kilometers away, or even 5 kilometers away. That way, if there are any cultivators, threats, or greater demons, I can immediately sense them. In less than half an hour, he flew out of the forest. In the vast starry fog, there was star sand in the fog. Cultivators could not cultivate, but Su Fong could use the power of the world of yin and yang to absorb that bit of spiritual qi. This way, he could step on the void and stand in the fog. Even a Sky Immortal could not compare to Su Fong in this aspect. In terms of the power of the world, Su Fong not only surpassed Cave Immortals, but also Sky Immortals. Even Sky Immortals did not have such amazing mystique. If I want to find the origin of the ancient Devil Golden Core, even Huang Fu Fei would not know. That Cave Immortal Demon Dao Cultivator has been suppressed for 10,000 years. He would not easily tell the secret to Huang Fu Fei. The ancient Devil Golden Core actually has the Yellow Springs Blood Sea from the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor. Then, could the ruins hidden in the ancient Devil Golden Core be related to the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's ruins? In the fog, he flashed again and came to a mountain covered in star sand. In front of him was an even more spectacular wasteland. Especially in front of him, there was a danger zone marked on the map. The main purpose of coming to the Huangze astral realm was completed. Next was to find the ruins of the devil behind the ancient Devil Golden Core. In the vast Huangze astral realm, how could he find the ruins of a devil? In the end, he only had one way, which was to use the Heaven's Secret Life shrinking technique. With the ancient Devil Golden Core's aura as the source, he could sense the wasteland. However, he still had to constantly sense it because the Heaven's Secret Life shrinking technique could not cover a large area. Buzz. After crossing the mountain range, Su Fong was in the middle of activating the Heaven's Secret Life shrinking technique. Suddenly, there was a movement in his body, and there was a very clear buzzing sound. He stopped and flipped his hand. A talisman carved with a butterfly mark appeared in his hand. This was what Dai Yi had given him back at Blackfiend Cliff. It was said that if the two of them were very close together, or if Dai Yi or Su Fong were in trouble, they could activate the rune talisman. Could it be there was no origin soul aura inside the talisman? When he released it, there was a similar aura coming from the depths of the desolate land. Dai is in front. While he was still at a loss, Dai's voice suddenly came from the rune talisman. "Hey kid, is that you?" It's me." He suddenly trembled, and his entire body suddenly turned cold. What a coincidence. I just happened to come to the desolate Lake Star World to look for some treasures. I didn't expect to run into you here. I thought I would run into proud heaven-chanting hatred. Come to the 7-star mountain range. I'll wait for you here. Okay, Junior will rush over as soon as possible. The rune talisman calmed down and looked at the thick world of star fog in front of him. It was another very dangerous place in the desolate Lake Star World. 7-star mountain range. This mountain range was very vast. It was covered by layers of star fog and nebulae all year round. There were also 7 huge mountains in the shape of stars, which gave it the name 7-star mountain range. Since he was called by Dai, he could only brace himself and rush over. Fortunately, he was no longer a virtual immortal or spirit immortal. He was now a high-level cave immortal, and his strength was 100 times stronger than before. He finally had some confidence to fight against Dai. About 2 hours later, under all kinds of pressure, he entered the depths of the cloudy void with shocking starlight and star fog. After some time, he saw bustling mountain peaks in the depths of the star fog. They stood tall and pierced through the depths of the fog. This was the 7-star mountain range. He flew down and saw a lush forest. Then, some Tao runes appeared in his mind, and a divine aura enveloped him. It was Dai. Only a powerful big goblin immortal like her could have such a divine aura in the desolate land. Just as he arrived outside the forest, 3 figures flew out from within. He saw that they were all familiar faces. In the middle was Dai, on the left was Lady Yellow Moon, and on the right was Black Fiend Cliff's King Black Python, who had obediently become Dai's subordinate. Even if he became a cave immortal, Su Fang had no chance. When he fought against Lady Yellow Moon, she was the weakest of the 3. However, she was still an existence that Su Fang could only look up to. Su Fang immediately bowed. "Senior." A demonic wind blew as Dai brought 2 experts over. They were still like a huge mountain, giving Su Fang a shocking pressure. When Dai saw Su Fang, she was shocked. "It's only been a few decades, but you've already stepped into the 8th cave immortal realm. Your robe, skin, and flesh are all filled with powerful life energy. You've already reached the peak of the cave immortal realm. Ordinary sky immortals are no match for you. Your growth is too shocking." Junior was in the constellation of 9 heavens. I was given a special opportunity to cultivate, and I even used the 3 talismans that Senior Aotian Chanhen gave me. I cultivated them all. Su Fang hurriedly explained. Of course, it was all a lie. 3 profound sword talismans? There was still a lot of power hidden deep within his body. As long as Dai did not forcefully sense it, she would not discover his secrets. As expected, Dai did not truly see through his secrets. As a peerless big goblin, no, Dai was not an ordinary demon immortal. She was a type of spirit immortal. She was so powerful that she would not see through a weak person's body. After chatting for a bit, Su Fang obediently followed the 3 into the forest. Seeing the forest rapidly receding, Su Fang curiously asked, "Senior, did you also come for that ancient magic treasure? I'm also lacking magic treasures. Furthermore, I heard that the legacy of the ancient Yellow Springs Devil Emperor might be in the desolate swamp astral plane. I came to watch the show, but I didn't get the treasure. Instead, I suffered a bit of a loss when I tried to seize a treasure in the 7-star mountain range. Who dares to let Senior suffer a loss? It's a powerful gluttonous devil. This gluttonous devil has actually fused with a big goblin and is occupying a spirit treasure that has appeared in the depths of the desolate swamp astral plane. Given Senior's cultivation, a spirit treasure that you care so much about must be a good one. It's a spirit treasure that is comparable to the undying flower. After a big goblin dies, its spirit pearl fuses with nature and becomes a heaven and earth origin pearl. This junior has never heard of a heaven and earth origin pearl. At this time, Su Fang's face was filled with confusion and sincerity. He really didn't know about the heaven and earth origin pearl. Dai Yi also treated him as an outsider. The heaven and earth origin pearl is a kind of spirit treasure formed from a big goblin's corpse's spirit pearl and its essence. After it dies, it fuses with nature's energy to form a spirit treasure. It can cleanse the marrow of a big goblin and help it shed its shell. Especially after fusing with a spirit pearl, it can make it easier for me to control world energy and display my divine might. It really is a great treasure. He didn't expect there to be a treasure like the heaven and earth origin pearl. After a long time, the 3 people and 1 demon arrived at a collapsed area. The rubble was filled with starlight and fog. There were no huge mountains because they had all turned into rubble. The treasure land that the gluttonous devil and big goblin had occupied was in the depths of the rubble. After hiding under a nearby cliff, Su Fang learned more about the heaven and earth origin pearl's secret. These rubble had been here for a long time. It was likely that the owner of the heaven and earth origin pearl had unfortunately fallen here after a battle, forming the heaven and earth origin pearl. However, a gluttonous devil and big goblin had found this place first and forcibly cultivated in this treasure land. Then they occupied this treasure land and absorbed the heaven and earth origin pearl's energy day and night, becoming stronger and stronger. The one that had caused Dai Yi to suffer was the gluttonous devil. It was very powerful, and even if Dai Yi touched a bit of its poison, it would be difficult to cleanse it. Dai Yi was a big goblin, so she naturally wouldn't give it up so easily. The heaven and earth origin pearl was a supreme treasure that could only be chanced upon by luck. It would be of great help to her cultivation. Right now, she didn't have a way to deal with the poison. If she didn't have the poison, she would have already taken down the gluttonous devil and big goblin. Dai Yi was infuriated. If I can make good use of this opportunity, then I can use Dai Yi to obtain the gluttonous devil and big goblin. If I can get the big goblin and gluttonous devil under my command, I won't even have to worry about Sky Immortal Realm cultivators. Su Fang began to calculate again. Suddenly, he made a shocking decision. He came to Dai Yi's side and said that he had a way to deal with the gluttonous devil. Both Empress Yellow Moon and King Black Python snorted disdainfully. However, Dai Yi told him to speak slowly. Su Fang said, "Junior once obtained a blood ghost by chance in the minor world. When I came to the greater world, I encountered ordinary gluttonous devils several times and let my blood ghost absorb their energy. Now my blood ghost doesn't fear any gluttonous devils. Senior can use my blood ghost to restrain the gluttonous devil's poison. King Black Python, go to the periphery of the treasure land and collect some of the gluttonous devil's poison. Then come back." Dai Yi was an experienced schemer and wouldn't make a decision easily. Su Fang also knew that she would test the blood ghost's power. And so, 2 hours later, when the Black Python King returned with some black water that contained poison, Su Fang had the blood ghost come out. As soon as the blood ghost appeared, Empress Yellow Moon turned pale with fright. It was clearly a gluttonous devil. Dai Yi was also very shocked. Su Fang controlled the blood ghost to swallow the black water. Sizzle! The black water contained poison, and it instantly corroded the blood ghost's body. But just a moment later, black smoke came out and the blood ghost was completely fine. As expected, Dai Yi's eyes brightened. Su Fang suddenly cupped his fist. "Senior, I have a wish. If Senior is able to suppress the gluttonous devil and the big goblin, please don't kill them. Junior is about to refine this blood ghost, and I need those poisons. I hope Senior won't kill them in a fit of anger." "Don't say that. I really do want to kill them, but since you've helped me so much, I'll naturally fulfill your wish. Looking at your blood ghost, you really did devour the gluttonous devil's energy. Good, now that you've become stronger, you'll be able to help me even more in the future. Dai immediately agreed. She immediately discussed this with Empress Yellow Moon and the Black Python King. She would lead the blood ghost in a frontal assault. Once she suppressed the gluttonous devil, Empress Yellow Moon and the Black Python King would attack from the side to deal with the big goblin. As for Su Fong, he would just obediently wait here. However, Su Fong didn't want to miss out on such a good opportunity. He insisted on secretly taking a look. Dai agreed. In any case, as long as she could suppress the gluttonous devil, there was no need to fear any big goblin. They immediately took action. Once the three big goblins led the gluttonous devil into the fog of the ruins, Su Fong carefully flew at a low altitude. The first thing he did was use his perfect saint ability. Chapter 10:28. The ruins were filled with rubble. With the star fog covering the top, the naked eye could only see within 100 meters. Even if he used his perception, it would be suppressed by the desolate power of the ruins. 2-2. After arriving at the depths of the rubble, Su Fong did not have time to settle down. Suddenly, there was a clap of thunder in front of him. Then, there was a terrifying collision aura. It was accompanied by demonic aura and demonic aura. Su Fong staggered and immediately hid behind a rubble. He looked at the rustling sounds around him. Large amounts of rubble were swept away. It was too terrifying. He used his perfect circle ability to look deeper. In the depths of the rubble that resembled a wetland, there was a huge gluttonous devil that was more than 30 meters tall. It was crazily spewing out poisonous gas and poisonous flames. On the other side, Lady Yellow Moon and King Black Python had also charged out. They were fighting with a burly middle-aged man who was wielding a meteor hammer. The aura created by the fight between the two suddenly turned into layers of shock waves. The rubble were sent flying backward. Even heavenly immortal cultivators could not get close to such destructive vibrations. Fortunately, Su Fong was hiding under the rubble and was temporarily safe. What a shocking gluttonous devil! This gluttonous devil is more than 30 meters tall. It is 3 to 4 times larger than an ordinary gluttonous devil. Its demonic poison and poisonous flames are terrifying to the extreme. No wonder, in the depths of the burning demonic flames, Su Fong saw Dai using her demonic aura Xianguang. She was using the ghouls to absorb the poisonous gas spewed out by the gluttonous devil. She was indeed powerful. Dai was very powerful. She was facing the gluttonous devil, which was considered the bane of the demonic beasts. He did not expect her to be so powerful. Of course, if the ghouls were not able to restrain the gluttonous devil's poisonous gas, it would be too difficult for her to deal with the poison alone. In less than a moment, Lady Yellow Moon had transformed into her true form. She was a yellow oriole with stunning wings. King Black Python had also transformed into his true form. He was an astonishing huge black-skinned python. As for the middle-aged big goblin that was being besieged, it had also transformed into its true form. Unexpectedly, it was a monster that resembled a pangolin. After it transformed into its true form, it swept its tail and swallowed Lady Yellow Moon and King Black Python. Its strength was extraordinary. Fortunately, Empress Yellow Moon and the Black Python King were also powerful, especially the Black Python King. With a curl of its body, it shattered the boulder and spat out snake venom, preventing the armored monster from helping the gorilla deal with Dai. Both sides are using their true abilities right from the start. Killing moves are constantly being used. This is a battle of life and death. Experts against experts, they cannot afford to be careless. Su Fong gained a better understanding of the real side of the great world as he watched these scenes of slaughter. After a while, the destructive aura from the battle between the two sides had dissipated. Su Fang suddenly gazed into the distance. That armored monster is too far away. It is undefeatable even when fighting against King Black Python and Empress Yellow Moon. If I take action now, I will be helping Dai again. She will definitely fulfill her promise and suppress the big goblin and gluttonous devil, handing them over to me alive. Unexpectedly, Su Fang made a decision at this moment. He then concealed his aura and activated his life form, allowing the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda's Earth-type divine aura to continuously penetrate his body. Su Fang was actually running on the rocky ground at a soundless speed. Above him, a shocking amount of rubble was flying everywhere. When he approached the three big goblins that were fighting, his sharp gaze suddenly locked onto the armored monster. 18 flying swords shot out from his eyes at the same time. Dai knew about the Heartless Sword Spy, so Su Fang did not need to hide anything. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The 18 flying swords suddenly shot out from between Empress Yellow Moon and King Black Python. When the big goblin shook off King Black Python's tail, it suddenly spat out a shocking amount of demonic aura and collided with the 18 flying swords. The ancient sword spy was indeed extraordinary. It was not just one flying sword, but 18 of them. Go! Empress Yellow Moon and King Black Python were startled. They immediately saw Su Fang coming out from the shadows and were shocked. They also took this opportunity to launch a shocking attack. Suddenly, Dai, who was constantly using her strength to suppress the gluttonous devil's poisonous flames, transmitted a thought to him. Kid, you're not afraid of death? Su Fang's heroic expression was forceful. Junior has fused the Heartless Sword Spy to a very high level these past few years. Furthermore, it is an ancient transcendent treasure. Even if I cannot kill the armored monster, I can still disperse a portion of its strength. Junior will do his best to suppress these powerful enemies. Be careful, it is not something you can handle. Do not get close to it. Dai suddenly warned him. She continued to use her unique demonic aura to suppress the gluttonous devil's devilish flames. Pow pow pow. The armored monster suddenly took out its magic treasure, the meteor hammer. It was actually a high-grade Dao item that had just reached high grade. With a sweep of its enormous strength, it knocked away several flying swords. However, King Black Python was astonishingly fast. With a twist, its poisonous tail smashed into the armored monster's back. The armored monster coughed up blood, but its armor was still sturdy. Empress Yellow Moon was also constantly spitting out demonic aura, one after another. Every single person here had gone crazy from the slaughter. Not every single person, but 3 demons, 1 human, and 2 devils. Puff puff. As the heartless flying swords were knocked away, Su Fang was also unable to control himself. He coughed up several mouthfuls of blood. Fortunately, Empress Yellow Moon and King Black Python were beginning to gain the upper hand. The 2 big goblin were also urging their flying swords to shoot them out again and again. They were locked in battle with the meteor hammer. From time to time, the armored monster would be struck by the Black Python King. It was beginning to be injured. I have to work harder. It's really not easy to deal with this kind of big goblin. The armored monster's body is armored, and its demonic aura is surging. Its entire demonic body is as domineering as a mountain. The heartless flying swords were almost knocked away. Seeing this scene, Su Fang suppressed the surging blood aura in his body and suddenly ordered the 12 demonic cultivators of the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda to work together. Waves of magic power gushed out from the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda in an instant. After forming a seal with Su Fang, the magic power and true qi from the 12 experts were ingeniously added to Su Fang's body through their natal magic treasures. This was the difference between magic treasures. This was the huge difference between ordinary magic treasures and natal magic treasures. Ordinary magic treasures, such as the Void Dust Cauldron transformation, could only help Su Fang refine various kinds of power. However, it was impossible for them to perfectly add power to Su Fang's body. Su Fang could only use the cauldron transformation and the array formation to absorb the power into his body and refine it. Finally, he could use his divine ability. This process was slow and consumed a lot of energy. However, the natal magic treasures could save 100 times or even 1,000 times the time. They could also perfectly add power to Su Fang's body, as if the 12 demonic cultivators themselves were urging the power. This was the reason why Su Fang had been insisting on upgrading the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda, the Starry Daylight Sword, and the Flaming Cloud Spirit Gourd. The magic treasures that he had been cultivating always had a huge advantage. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Of the 18 heartless flying swords surrounding the armored monster, 12 of the flying swords suddenly came to life. Under the powerful interception of the armored monster's domineering aura, they suddenly struggled, broke through the defense, and attacked the armored monster again. Moreover, the 12 flying swords began to change and intertwine with each other. The remaining 6 flying swords also formed a strange sword formation and attacked the armored monster from the other side. The armored monster was powerful and had a superior grade magic treasure. However, no matter how powerful its body was, it would be severely injured if it was struck by the heartless flying swords. At this moment, the merciless flying swords finally displayed their true ability. They transformed into rings and layers of sword chi halos around the armored monster. As for the armored monster, when it used its meteor hammer, it only attacked the powerful sword chi halos and smashed the sword formation into pieces. As for the true merciless flying swords, they were cleverly hidden under the sword formation. As such, the heartless flying swords suppressed most of the armored monster's dermic powers and aura. The armored monster could only use a third of its divine powers to deal with Lady Yellow Moon and King Black Python. At that moment, the 2 big goblins, Lady Yellow Moon and King Black Python, revealed their invincible demonic aura state. The demonic aura wave struck the meteor hammer, but King Black Python's tail suppressed it again and again. In addition, the 2 big goblins' flying swords suppressed the meteor hammer in the armored monster's hand. At that moment, the armored monster was no longer able to attack. It raised the meteor hammer and curled up its body to protect itself. It's over. When Su Fang saw this scene, he heaved a sigh of relief. However, he did not expect that his physical body would be seriously injured. It was the big goblin that dealt with the heartless flying swords, and then transmitted a shock force. This was the helplessness brought about by the difference in cultivation realms. Still controlling the emotionless sword formation with the 12 demonic cultivators, the armored monster didn't last more than half an incense stick of time before the Black Python King's snake body was wrapped around the armored monster's body. At this time, the Black Python King's snake body revealed astonishing muscle lines, which showed how terrifying its strength was. The armored monster was so tyrannical before, but now that it was entangled by the Black Python King, it could not struggle. Fortunately, its physical body was tough, or else it would have been entangled into pieces. Let's see if you can still be honest. Lady Yellow Moon controlled the flying sword and stabbed the armored monster's forehead. That sword almost pierced through the armored monster's head. Fortunately, she did not attack. Otherwise, how could Su Fang obtain this powerful armored monster? Su Fang also put away the heartless flying swords. Without waiting for Lady Yellow Moon to resist, he flew away. As for Lady Yellow Moon, she cooperated with King Black Python to suppress the armored monster, making it obedient. Senior. A moment later, Su Fang arrived at the periphery of the 300-meter devilish flame. This devilish flame was spat out by the Gorb Devil. Not only did it have terrifying burning power, but it was also comparable to the underground lava of the Silent Flame Plains. More importantly, it also contained the Gorb Devil's special poison. Even Dai Yi would not feel good if she was stained by that poison. She floated above the devilish flame, and with the Ghoul Eater's astonishing devouring power, the devilish flame was sucked into its mouth. Dai Yi did not even glance at Su Fang. She shouted, "Don't come over! This Gorb devil not only eats poison, but its devouring power is also astonishing. Can instantly crush a low-grade Dao item, and even a mid-grade Dao item can't injure it. I'll quickly suppress it." "Alright." Su Fang waited outside as he hurriedly swallowed a medicinal pill. Using the Ghoul Eater's ability, Dai Yi constantly approached the Gorb devil. She was no longer afraid of the poisonous flame. Once she was a certain distance away, Dai Yi suddenly shot out rays of light that contained shocking demonic chi. Chains that resembled starlight shot toward the Gorb devil. The Gorb devil's only attack method was its mouth. It used its mouth to spit out poisonous flames, poisonous gas, poison, and bite to crush objects. However, it had no other attack methods other than its body. As the chains descended, the Gorb devil madly spat out poisonous flames. However, the poisonous flames could only reduce the speed and momentum of the chains while corroding them, so the Gorb devil was still forcefully suppressed in the center of the chains and tied up tightly. But at this time, the Gorb devil was still spitting out poisonous flames. Dai Yi was only able to restrict its movements and body, but it was not truly suppressed. As Dai Yi continued to form hand seals, the chains became more and more powerful. At the same time, she had the Ghoul Eater come closer so it could directly absorb the flames and poison it spat out. The Ghoul Eater was truly powerful. It was constantly eating the other party's poisonous flames and gas. This way, Dai Yi no longer had to worry about the Gorb devil. The Gorb devil's most terrifying aspect was its poisonous gas and flames. Now that it was suppressed, with Dai Yi's cultivation base, there was no need for her to be afraid of it. Chapter 10:29. Those chains actually contain a third of the true Qi from the constellation of 9 heavens. This means that Dai Yi also cultivates the constellation of 9 heavens' mantra. Su Fang looked at the extraordinary chain. This kind of chain was an ability that the majority of cultivators, especially the powerful ones, could master. Most of them were used to attack. But Su Fang saw that there was something different about Dai Yi's chains. He pondered, or perhaps she obtained the power of the astral palace from some other aspect. That true Qi is perfectly combined with her special spiritual Qi and demonic Qi. No wonder she has such a method. Her world energy is also very powerful. He suddenly thought of the reason why Dai Yi was suppressed in the illusory snow grounds and her relationship with Ao Tian Changhen. It was impossible for such a big goblin to cultivate in the constellation of 9 heavens. She also had the astral palace's true Qi. She must have something to do with Ao Tian Changhen. He was very curious about what a big goblin and a peerless elder had experienced 100,000 years ago. Powerful tremor exploded like spring thunder. Su Fang looked in front of him in shock. He saw that Dai Yi's hands were tightly intertwined, and the chains obediently wrapped around the gorilla. All the devilish flames, devilish Qi, and poison had disappeared. The gorilla had been completely suppressed by Dai Yi. Su Fang slowly flew over. Only then did the devilish flames around him slowly dissipate. Dai Yi let out a sigh of relief. It seemed that she hadn't used up much of her true Qi. There are many gorilla devils like this in the Desolate Lake Star Realm. I didn't expect to encounter one like this. Last time I was in the Desolate Lake Star Realm, I saw an even bigger gorilla devil. Su Fang recalled the first time he came to the Desolate Lake Star Realm and the baby Huangfu. That gorilla devil was even bigger than this one. The Desolate Lake Star Realm is so complicated and vast. There must be even more powerful gorilla devils. This is also the reason why Demonic Mountain's demonic Dao experts often appear in the Desolate Lake Star Realm. If Demonic Mountain suppresses these powerful gorilla devils and takes them back to Demonic Mountain, It can help many demonic Tao cultivators become stronger. Demonic Mountain. Fortunately, we have your ghouls, or else I would have a headache dealing with them. Their main body isn't too strong, but their innate ability to consume poison is too shocking. Almost every ghoul has a different type of poison. Once infected, it's very difficult to cure them. My demon race also has poison, but it's still a bit weaker than the ghouls. This ghoul is something I inadvertently cultivated. From the small world to the great world, it has repeatedly helped this junior deal with demonic cultivators. You have to properly cultivate it. With its current strength, it can already devour gorilla devils that are 1,000 times stronger than it. It will be even more amazing in the future. With that, Dai returned the ghoul to Su Fang's side. She then looked at the sealed gluttonous devil in front of her, and brought Su Fang up with her domineering aura. I'll leave this gluttonous devil and that armored monster to you. However, do you have the ability to suppress them? They are existences that even medial-grade artifacts cannot suppress unless you use a superior-grade artifact. Junior happened to obtain a high-grade magic treasure when I came to the wasteland. Su Fang nodded. Alright. Immediately, under Dai's control, a shockwave swept over from the side. It turned out that the Black Python King was entangled with the armored monster. Under the watch of Lady Yellow Moon, it came to the side of the gluttonous devil. Dai immediately took action and personally sealed the armored monster. After 3 layers of inner and outer seals, she threw it together with the gluttonous devil. Su Fang's heart was already blooming with joy. One gluttonous devil had surpassed the heavenly immortal realm, and the other armored monster had also surpassed the heavenly immortal realm. After subduing these 2 monsters, Su Fang had the power to deal with any heavenly immortal realm expert. With this, he would not have to fear heavenly immortal realm experts, or even surpass them. You stay here and carefully control the gluttonous devil and the big goblin. If you can't do it, just let me know. Dai led Lady Yellow Moon and the Black Python King to search for the Heaven and Earth Elemental Pearl. She even specifically instructed them. Su Fang smiled. When the 3 of them entered the Star Fog ruins filled with devil chi and demonic chi, Su Fang activated the Void Dust Cauldron transformation. With a buzz, it flew out from his palm. He sucked the gluttonous devil and the armored monster into the cauldron transformation. Now, no matter how powerful the 2 monsters were, they were sealed by Dai and shackled by the Void Dust Cauldron transformation. No matter how capable they would not be able to break the Void Dust Cauldron transformation and escape. Haha, I did not expect to meet Dai and have such good luck to obtain such a powerful gluttonous devil and the big goblin, Huang Fuju and Mu Shu. In the future, you can still control me in the Star Palace's treasure tool secret realm. Let's see how I will repay you. This time, he originally had 100 years to cultivate in the treasure tool secret realm. However, he was forced to leave the Star Palace, because people like Mu Shuo were always watching him and wanted him dead. This time, in the desolate Lake Star world, he must become stronger and have the means to deal with those high-ranking disciples. He did not know how long it would take for Dai to collect the Heaven and Earth Elemental Bead. Su Fang simply flew out of the ruins and came to a mountain. He began to release the Yang Immortal into the Void Dust Cauldron transformation. He came to the front of the gluttonous devil and the big goblin. The gluttonous devil could not speak, but the armored monster immediately flew into a rage. Let me go, brat. If I break this treasure and escape, I will definitely swallow you alive. If you let me go now, I will definitely let you live. You think too much. Seeing that I am a Grotto Immortal Realm weakling, you think that I am easy to deceive? Armored monster, my powerful means will not taste good. You are so proud because you have an expert helping you. If it was not for that spirit monster, this king would not have fallen into your hands. Let me go. I will not let you go. Have you ever seen someone spit out the things in their stomach? Then I will struggle out. I will not let you go. You're wrong. Seeing how impudent you are, I decided to teach you a lesson. You've already fallen into my hands, but you're still so impudent. Gui Gui, I'll let you off easy. Su Fong chuckled coldly. Even as the armored ogre was so pleased with itself that it looked like a mad bull, an evil aura suddenly appeared next to him. The ghoul. After the ghoul appeared, Su Fong said something and then walked over to the armored monster. Humph. The armored monster suddenly stopped speaking. It was clear that it was also afraid of the ghoul. After all, it had seen how Dai Yi had used the ghoul to deal with the gluttonous devil. Gui Gui arrived in front of the immobile armored monster. Suddenly, her sharp claws dug into the armored monster's arm and tore it apart. First, a stream of blood poison seeped in. Then, she tore off a piece of flesh the size of a bowl. The flesh was still wriggling. It was actually still alive. But so what if it was alive? It was still swallowed by the ghoul. The armored monster was in so much pain that it broke out in cold sweat. It endured and did not cry out. But the ghoul was not polite. The ghoul loved to eat flesh the most. Adding on the fact that the blood poison had entered the armored monster's body, it began to corrode the armored monster's flesh. As for Su Fong, he suddenly appeared in front of the suppressed gluttonous devil. Looking at such a gigantic gorb demon, even Su Fong himself was scared out of his wits. Ordinary gorb demons were only 3 to 3 meters in size, but this gorb demon was extraordinarily large. Its sharp teeth were like magic treasures. Heavenly Devil Disintegration Seal. Su Fong suddenly attacked. He did not use the primordial chaos sacred realm to suppress the gluttonous devil. Instead, he used the Heavenly Devil Scripture's supreme divine ability. His entire body was suddenly covered in devil chi. Black young immortals flew out from the true devil blood plate and immediately coiled around the gluttonous devil's head. Although the gluttonous devil is powerful, its yuan spirit is weak. Since the gluttonous devil is suppressed, I only need to control its yuan spirit. It turned out that it was not difficult to refine such a huge gluttonous devil. The main reason was that the gluttonous devil was sealed by Dai Yi and could not move. It could not resist. Su Fong only needed to refine its young immortals. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. At that moment, under the true devil blood plate's divine power, Su Fong did not hold back. He stripped off a large number of young immortals and flew into the gluttonous devil's head with them. After passing through a large amount of devil chi and devil poison, he arrived in the depths of the gluttonous devil's head. He saw that its young immortals were only at the level of ordinary spirit immortals. Moreover, its yuan spirit was not protected by a special barrier. Dai Yi was right. The gluttonous devil's most powerful ability was to consume poison. Without it, this gluttonous devil would not be that powerful. If it encountered a cultivator with a powerful yuan spirit, it would become an ordinary monster once they got close to it. Boom! A large number of young immortals suddenly surrounded the gluttonous demon's trembling primordial spirit and spat out primordial spirit flames, turning into seals that surrounded the gluttonous demon's primordial spirit. Moreover, Su Fong's will was continuously implanted into the gluttonous demon's primordial spirit. Soon, Su Fong heard the gluttonous devil's very hoarse and low voice. "Master, I submit. I'm willing to submit to you for the rest of my life. Haha, good. In the future, just obediently stay in my magical treasure. Do whatever I want you to do. Otherwise, I'll break your yuan spirit and have my blood wraith true devil devour your physical body. You've seen how powerful it is. I will listen to Master. I don't dare go against Master's will." Whoosh! The young immortals grabbed, and the gluttonous devil's yuan spirit was completely sealed. Then it obediently sat down and listened to Su Fong. "With this powerful gluttonous devil, I'll have another way to deal with heavenly immortal realm cultivators. I can have the gluttonous devil spit out poison. Even those experts won't be able to resist the poison after being poisoned, let alone me. Su Fang naturally had to think of a good use for such a huge gluttonous devil. He naturally couldn't let the blood ghost true devil devour it. Instead, he would use it to deal with powerful enemies in the future. Especially with its devouring ability and poison-eating ability, even a poison-refining expert like Bai Tsubing would have a headache facing this gluttonous devil. The gluttonous devil had two great abilities. One was poison-eating, and the other was devouring. Its mouth was very sharp, and it could even swallow a mid-grade Dao item. In the future, Su Fang might be able to make good use of the gluttonous devil's ability. In the future, he could have the blood ghost true devil and the gluttonous devil cultivate together. By devouring the gluttonous devil's special poison-eating ability, the blood ghost would become stronger. Then he left the gluttonous devil's mental world. He immediately undid the layers of seals on the gluttonous devil and absorbed it into the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda. This way, the gluttonous devil could be considered a small commander. Su Fang then looked at the armored devil. In such a short time, the flesh and blood of the armored monster's arms were torn off piece by Gui Gui and swallowed in front of the armored monster. The armored devil's arms were all bones, connected to some meridians and flesh. Blood was everywhere. It was so scared that it was clenching its teeth and trembling. Gui Gui, eat slowly. Don't eat too fast, or you'll die in 2 bites. Su Fang chuckled. Devil, I have many ways to deal with you. In any case, I'm not in a hurry right now. Just the blood poison can torture you for the rest of your life. This is my magic treasure world, and it's an ancient high-grade Dao item. You can't break it. Plus, there's a seal on your body. You won't be able to escape. Su Fang coldly sneered and disappeared from the Crucible Transformation world. Chapter 1030. No matter how strong and powerful the armored monster was, it was now a piece of meat on the chopping board. Su Fang could deal with it however he wanted. After flying out of the cauldron of void dust, he waited for a while. Then, 3 figures flew out from the depths of the Star Fog ruins. Dai Yi led Lady Yellow Moon and the Black Python King over. Their speed was much faster than Su Fang's, and even the Feather Fan couldn't keep up. After meeting with Su Fang, it wasn't hard to tell that Dai Yi had obtained the Heaven and Earth Elemental Bead. It was a peerless treasure. Moreover, Lady Yellow Moon and the Black Python King had probably obtained many benefits as well. He still wanted to see the Heaven and Earth Elemental Bead. How could Dai Yi let him admire it? The few of them rested in the mountains. Su Fang didn't know what Dai Yi was planning to do next. However, he still wanted to find the location of the ancient Devil Golden Core. He bid farewell to Dai Yi and said that he was going to return to the constellation of 9 heavens. Dai Yi agreed and gave Su Fang many high-grade elixirs, tens of millions of middle-grade immortal elixirs, and some spiritual items. It seemed like she hadn't been able to obtain any treasures in the past few years. After obtaining the benefits, Su Fang left. He secretly gathered the power of the ancient Devil Golden Core and used the life-shrinking technique. He flew at a low altitude in the vast wasteland and sensed the surroundings. As time passed, Su Fang gradually got used to the shackles of the barren land. Using the heavenly secret life-shrinking technique together with his full circle ability, he could sense if there was any ancient demon golden core aura within 10 miles of the barren land. Even Huang Fu Fei would not be able to sense such a large area. The life-shrinking technique didn't sense nature. Instead, it sensed the aura of fate and some energy that was connected to fate. After obtaining and merging with the ancient Devil Golden Core, Su Fang's fate was connected to that of the ancient Devil Golden Core's owner. Unknowingly, the two had already merged. Su Fang passed through many dangerous areas and gradually entered the depths of the Huangze astral plane. However, they did not gain anything along the way. Instead, they sensed many forces coming from all directions, as well as a large number of cultivators. There were also some powerful big goblin and even some disciples from the constellation of 9 heavens. They also passed by the Phoenix Transformation Canyon. Currently, there was an endless stream of cultivators entering the Phoenix Transformation Canyon to fight for treasures. This was because from time to time there would be some huge tremors within the canyon. No one knew if it was the birth of a magic treasure, but every cultivator dreamed of obtaining an extraordinary magic treasure. Magic treasures were a cultivator's second life. Buzz. They had been flying around the wasteland day and night, trying to sense their surroundings. It had been more than half a year. Suddenly, in the depths of a forested mountain range, the heaven's secret life shrinking technique actually sensed an aura. Su Fang was pleasantly surprised. He thought it was an ancient demon golden core, but he was disappointed. It was a demonic aura that was similar to the demonic aura in his body. Finally, he realized that the Ba-Mo monarch's power was fused into his body, and it was resonating with the heavenly secret life shrinking technique. It seemed that the demonic aura belonged to the Ba-Mo monarch. It couldn't be the Ba-Mo monarch, because there was only a trace of demonic aura. If it really was the Ba-Mo monarch himself, then the resonance should be very intense. After sensing for a while, the demonic aura moved forward. It was moving a bit faster than Su Fang, but it wasn't too shocking. In any case, he was aimlessly searching for the remains of an ancient demon golden core devil. He followed the demonic aura and continued to sense everything within a few dozen miles. Not long after, the demonic aura also continued to fly forward. When Su Fang looked into the depths of the canyon, he discovered that it was a rather famous dangerous area in the Huangze astral plane. Floating Soul Valley. This dangerous area was similar to the 7-star mountain range. It wasn't the biggest dangerous area in the Huangze astral plane, but it was still recorded on the map. Just as he was looking at the map of Floating Soul Valley, Su Fang suddenly sensed a very strong demonic qi. It was very familiar. He approached it and sensed it. This time, he was sure that the one in Floating Soul Valley was definitely that big shot from Heavenly Demon Mountain, Sovereign Ba-Mo. This demonic aura was too strong and domineering. He was so far away from Floating Soul Valley, but he could sense it so strongly. It was obvious that only the Ba-Mo monarch himself could release such a shocking aura. Su Fang's breathing slowed down. The other party was the Ba-Mo monarch, and he had even swallowed the Ba-Mo monarch's left palm. The demonic mountain's nest isn't here. From the records, this Floating Soul Valley is just a collapsed dangerous area formed after the Earth moved. Because of the collapse, many spaces inside turned into valleys. In addition, because of dust and star fog all year round, the place doesn't see sunlight all year round. However, there are relics and natural spiritual treasures inside. After thinking about it, he didn't dare to enter Floating Soul Valley. He could only pass by the outer area. Even in the outer area, he could sense a lot of demonic aura with his heavenly secret life shrinking technique. It was very familiar because these demonic cultivators were from the demonic mountain. Since Su Fang had swallowed the Ba-Mo monarch's flesh and blood, he also had the power of the demonic mountain. Cough, cough. When he was about to cross the demonic mountain, he suddenly sensed 3 demonic cultivators in front of him. They were hiding in a forest not far away. They were obviously the eyes of the demonic mountain. At this moment, the Great Perfection heard the 3 of them talking. The Huyen Shinrikyo is really difficult to deal with. Our monarch didn't even settle the score with them, but they kept biting us, saying that our monarch stole the heavenly light exceptional fire. Shu, stop talking. Since we followed the 2 monarchs to Floating Soul Valley, we're here to find the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's relic. Yes, stop nagging about the past. We followed the 2 monarchs here mainly to find the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's relic. We've already found several dangerous areas. I don't know how long we'll have to stay in Floating Soul Valley. If we can really find the relics, we can return to the demonic mountain. The three of them spoke one after another. Even though they were separated by several miles, the Great Perfection Stage's hearing could still be heard clearly. Su Fang stopped at a mountain peak and frowned as he looked at the floating Soul Valley on his right. Two monarchs from the demonic mountain came to find the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's relics in Floating Soul Valley. Could there really be something special in Floating Soul Valley? If there really is the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's relics, then I can't miss it. He pounded his fist. He actually transformed into a demon, and his demonic aura was mainly the demonic mountain's true chi. In this way, if his aura was really sensed by a peerless powerhouse in Floating Soul Valley, they would only think that he was a disciple of the demonic mountain. Then, it entered the star fog. An hour later, he entered the Floating Soul Valley. This was also a mountain range and forest, but most of the mountains had collapsed and were buried together with the forest. There were many empty ruins inside, which turned into valleys. From these valleys, star fog would sweep out from time to time. The air was almost humid, and when it covered the skin, it would make it difficult to wash off. It would also clog the skin and prevent the physical body from absorbing true chi. This was the terrifying part of Wasteland. Just this humid air alone was enough to prevent cave immortals from stepping into this place. Only heaven immortal experts could dissolve this humid air. Su Fang released his sensing ability and sensed demonic aura, and the aura of a few righteous cultivators. This was only the periphery of Floating Soul Valley. He didn't know what auras were inside. Floating Soul Valley was at least tens of thousands of miles wide. In addition to the special environment, Su Fang's sensing ability could only sense auras within a few miles. This was a dangerous place that contained many spiritual treasures and relics, so there must be many cultivators searching for treasures here. His goal was the demonic mountain. He flew into a valley formed by the accumulation of ruins and forests. It looked like ruins, but there were many mouth-like valleys and caves in the center. After entering the valleys, demonic mountains experts should be not far ahead. There were also more demonic mountain disciples lurking in the dark. Fortunately, this was a wasteland, so they couldn't completely control it. Su Fang gradually sensed the extremely clear and strong aura of Monarch Baimo. Through the combination of his perfected ability, he could sense that it was in an inner forest cave in the depths of the ruins. It was only about 2.5 miles away. In addition, there were almost all inner caves and valleys in all directions. Even if it was only 2.5 miles away, a big shot like Monarch Baimo couldn't perfectly control it. Su Fang didn't dare to enter again. Fortunately, he summoned the Wooling Goblin and entered the Wooling Goblin's body, allowing it to slowly move forward in the ruins. Finally, he could reach 2 miles away from the ruins. This time, he could easily sense more than 300 demonic mountain experts strolling around. More than 50 of them were gathered near a cave. There were 2 terrifying auras in that cave. Su Fang was sure that one of them was Monarch Baimo. The other aura was as strong as Monarch Baimo. It seemed that there was another monarch of Demonic Mountain. 2 demons had come down from Demonic Mountain. They were determined to find the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's relic. At this moment, Su Fang had the Wooling Goblin crawl into the ruins and hide its aura. Su Fang only used his hearing ability to see what the 2 monarchs had gained from this Floating Soul Valley. With his perfected ability, Su Fang could reap without sowing. After waiting for half a day, Su Fang heard the discussions of other demonic experts and learned that the monarch who came with Monarch Baimo was Monarch Sai Shui of Demonic Mountain. Monarch Sai Shui was one of the monarchs of Demonic Mountain. He controlled tens of thousands of disciples on Demonic Mountain and was a peerless big shot at the elder level. With Monarch Baimo and Monarch Sai Shui, Demonic Mountain was too terrifying. Suddenly, Monarch Sai Shui, who was cultivating next to Monarch Baimo, spoke. Her voice was as hoarse as an old woman's. The disciples in front went to those suspicious places to search. 2 of them might have the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's relic. Our demonic mountain had only accidentally obtained a broken jade related to the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor in the past. Compared to Huyen Shinrikyo and the constellation of the 9 heavens, we don't have much of an advantage. We can only search for them one by one. This floating soul valley was also rumored to have been obtained by someone who obtained a magic treasure related to the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor. Although many forces came to search for it first, we still found something when we worked together to activate the Blood Jade. The Yellow Springs Devil Emperor once created the Yellow Springs Immortal World and looked down on the righteous, demonic, and evil Tao. He established the Yellow Springs reincarnation. He was such a powerful ancient immortal emperor. If our demonic mountain can obtain his legacy, we can kill our way into one of the great worlds and establish a huge demonic force. Haha, if we can really obtain the immortal emperor's legacy, we will have the strength of a supreme ruler of the great immortal world. After Monarch Ba Mo and Monarch Sai Shue spoke, everything suddenly stopped. Then, the 2 of them suddenly brought more than 20 experts with them and hid their auras. Each of the experts had the strength of Qi Yen Zi and Huang Fu Xiao Xiao, and some were even stronger. They followed the 2 great demon monarchs and entered the depths of Floating Soul Valley. There are 2 dangerous places that might have the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's relic. I have to take a look. If there really are relics, it will definitely shake the great world. Su Fang immediately ordered Wooling Goblin to run quickly along the surface of the ruins. Although Wooling Goblin couldn't compare to Zhu Huang, it was still a demonic immortal. In addition, its Earth-type ability was its advantage, so it quickly caught up with the demonic mountain experts. Chapter 1031. His speed wasn't as fast as the 2 demon monarchs, but fortunately, Su Fang had the great perfection ability and could sense demonic mountain's true qi, so he wasn't afraid that he couldn't keep up. A day later, he suddenly came to 100 feet deep pit in the ruins. In the depths of the pit, there was an even deeper abyss. There was even some interstellar airflow that swept out from time to time. It seemed that there was a power that didn't belong to the wasteland at the bottom of Floating Soul Valley. In other words, there might be a spatial imbalance that caused some kind of change in space, causing other spatial powers to explode from here. It was too dangerous. Demonic Mountain's Monarch Ba Mo and Blood Monarch Sai led experts into the depths of the abyss that looked like a tomb buried in ruins. Waves of cold air either directly shot out, twisted, or whirlpools appeared from the depths of the ruins. Even heaven immortals would be sucked into the abyss if they encountered the cold air. As expected of peerless expert, Su Fang used the Wooling Goblin to crawl on the cliffs and secretly followed them. He saw those demonic mountain experts avoid the cold air in the abyss. Not only did they fly into the abyss, but they also entered the abyss caves that were torn open on the cliff. The cold air turbulence wasn't much of a threat to them. These people probably walked in the wasteland all year round and were already used to this kind of environment. The Wooling Goblin was a natural monster. It could survive in places with rocks and soil. It was also an expert at hiding its aura perfectly. Su Fang hid under its weight and also felt the terrible threat from the abyss. If he fell into the abyss, he would either fall to his death, be swept away by the spatial turbulence, or be killed directly. The experts of Demonic Mountain moved slower and slower. In the end, they were almost walking. They avoided the spatial turbulence in the abyss and searched for the legendary ruins of the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor. Su Fang also released his great perfection ability to sense the gloomy space around him. He wanted to see if he could find the ruins of the ancient demon's golden core he was looking for. Unfortunately, all aspects of his perception were shackled here. He could only sense about 1 mile away, but this was still very shocking. He estimated that he was almost as good as Monarch Ba Mo and Blood Monarch Sai. As he slowly searched deeper, the cold air wrapped in the spatial turbulence became more and more shocking. It was like boiling steam from time to time, making Su Fang's hair stand on end. The experts of Demonic Mountain thoroughly searched every cave and every crack that was torn open. When they went deeper, they actually found another cave. It was a very ancient cave. It looked like a huge rock that was stuck in an astonishing canyon. It could fall into the spatial turbulence at any time. Having abode, Su Fang used his great perfection ability and saw Sovereign Baimo, who had lost his left hand and had his left arm wrapped in a black cloth, and a black-robed old man leading several experts flying into the cave that was about to crumble. With his great perfection stage ability, he was able to see the surroundings of the cave abode. Most likely, it had been drawn here by the turbulence from a certain space. It was embedded in the canyon in an irregular state. The cave abode had been turned into cold stone. There were no formations or markings. In less than half an incense stick's time, the two demon monarchs left with their experts. Judging from their expressions, they should not have noticed anything. They continued to search deeper. Su Fang also entered the ancient immortal's cave to take a look. There were no treasures. He guessed that someone had been here a long time ago. Even if there were treasures, they would have been taken away by the cultivators who came first. However, Su Fang could sense a faint remnant devil aura from the rocks in the cave abode. It seemed that this ancient cave abode was indeed left behind by a devil Dao expert. He continued to follow the demonic mountain experts to search the dangerous abyss of ruins. If it weren't for the Wuling Goblin's innate ability to survive in nature, Su Fang wouldn't have been able to persevere here by himself. His true qi would have been exhausted long ago. He continued to search and passed through a large number of canyons and abysses, but he still couldn't reach the surface. Su Fang secretly followed the demonic mountain experts like this. He suddenly felt a strange aura and also noticed that the demonic mountain experts were slowing down. As he got closer, he suddenly sensed demonic aura seeping through the remnant spatial turbulence in front of him. From the demonic aura, it seemed that there was a big goblin ahead. It was definitely a big goblin. To be able to cultivate and survive in this kind of spatial abyss, it had to be a big goblin at least on the level of King Black Python. Oh, Sovereign Baimo and Sovereign Sai Shui should have sensed a powerful big goblin, but they still flew deeper into the abyss. Did they discover something? He thought that the demonic mountain experts would take a detour, but he was wrong. He slowly followed them. When he came to a three-sided canyon, he suddenly sensed a demonic aura and a demonic aura in one of the dark canyons. The demonic aura and demonic aura were intertwined, but most of it was demonic aura. The demonic aura was less than 1%. Even this little bit couldn't escape the Sovereign Baimo and Sovereign Sai Shui's senses. Could it really be the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's ruins? Although the demonic aura is scarce, it's still quite strong. It's much stronger than the previous ancient cave abode. His heart tightened. He couldn't wait any longer and still let the Wuling Goblin slowly move along the cliff. He didn't want to make any noise at this time. I beg for mercy, I beg for mercy. At such a critical moment, a voice suddenly appeared in his body. It was the armored monster's pathetic begging for mercy. Su Fang immediately beamed with joy. He peeled off a young immortal and came to the void dust cauldron. Inside the void dust cauldron, a lot of blood mist floated around the ghouls and armored monsters. He pinched the tip of his nose. He wasn't used to the smell of the big goblin's blood. Su Fang's gaze sharpened. The badly mutilated armored monster trembled. Its eyes no longer had the arrogance from before. They were only trembling uneasily and full of fear. The ghoul didn't care about his feelings. It grabbed another piece of flesh from the armored monster's lower abdomen and slowly ate it. Aside from its face, the armored monster's entire body was in tatters. It was estimated that 1/5 of its flesh had been eaten by the ghoul. Bones and even intestines could be seen in some places. Su Fang asked indifferently. Listen to my orders obediently in the future. The armored monster seemed to be grasping at straws. You are my master. I thought you were my lord and would never betray me. Come back. With a thought, the ghoul disappeared. Su Fang condensed a large number of seals. With the power of yin and yang as the source, he created layers of complicated seals. The moment the armored monster released the Yang Immortal, all kinds of seals were added to the Yang Immortal and its body. The armored monster was very powerful. It might be able to repel Su Fang's sealing power, but it was ultimately unable to shake the power of the primordial chaos sacred. After a while, Su Fang used the power of the cauldron transformation to burn away the seals on the armored monster that Dai Yi had placed. The moment the armored monster regained its freedom, it staggered and almost fainted. It sat cross-legged on the array, feeling very weak. Su Fang took out dozens of mid-grade and high-grade immortal essence pills and gave them to it. Recover well. Other than these high-grade immortal essence pills, there are also a large number of yin-yang immortal sky pills that I refined. Although they are low-grade pills, they are enough for you to slowly recover. I, Tingba, will be loyal to Master in the future. Please help me purify the blood poison in my body. The armored monster suddenly knelt in front of Su Fang. This is not a problem. I will secretly activate the cauldron transformation. With the help of the yin-yang immortal sky pills, you can use the power of the cauldron transformation to slowly purify the blood poison. After that, Su Fang's Yang Immortal broke through the air and left. The armored monster, Tingba, was very powerful after fusing with its main body. Although it was seriously injured now, once it recovered, it and the ghoul would become his trump card in addition to his Dharma treasures. At this moment, the Wuling Goblin followed the demonic mountain experts and entered the depths of the canyon that was full of demonic chi and tiger roars. There were also some spatial turbulences in the depths of the abyss. There was more demonic chi than the turbulence, and there was also some faint demonic chi. There are more than 10 demons. They seem to be very powerful existences, but they encountered the demonic mountain. Su Fang's perfected ability allowed him to sense the locations where the demonic chi was released. Bang bang bang! Unexpectedly, in an instant, there was an explosion in the depths of the canyon like spring thunder. Then, along with the sound of the explosion, flames suddenly flickered in the depths of the dark canyon. Clearly, Monarch Ba Mo and Monarch Sai Shui led the demonic mountain experts to attack the big goblin. What a domineering demonic mountain! They actually attacked the big goblin's nest in the big goblin's territory. The Wuling Goblin crawled along the cliff, and waves of explosive aura began to blow past like a gust of wind. Fortunately, the Wuling Goblin's body could be flattened, so it could still move forward slowly. Following a furious roar, several great demons suddenly appeared from the depths of the explosion. Some were huge scorpions, some were huge snakes, and they were currently fighting with the demonic mountain's experts in an enormous cave on the cliff of an abyss. Their battle formation could completely be described as shocking to the heavens and earth. Su Fang could see that the big goblin's strength was about the same as Goddess Yellow Moon's. Inside the cave, there are 2 waves of demonic aura entangled with 1 wave of demonic aura. It's Monarch Ba Mo and Monarch Sai Shui fighting a big goblin together. What kind of big goblin is so powerful? Su Fang still let the Wuling Goblin continue moving forward despite the dangerous abyss. From the layers of turbulent and boiling destructive aura, Su Fang saw through them and entered the cave on the cliff. That huge cave shouldn't have been created by the big goblin because it contained a shocking amount of demonic aura. Around the cave were a dozen big goblins fighting with more than 20 demonic mountain experts. Su Fang saw some of the demonic techniques that had transformed the demonic book from the demonic techniques that these demonic mountain experts used. He saw that inside the cave, 2 balls of demonic flames were constantly clashing with a ball of demonic light. At first, the demonic light was still very strong, but it was gradually suppressed by the 2 waves of demonic aura. Su Fang also saw that inside the demonic light was a powerful giant ape. A giant ape. Su Fang hadn't seen it for a long time. It was an existence similar to the heavenly demon Venerable. They were both ape monsters, but the ape race was far more powerful than the average big goblin. The heavenly demon Venerable was a good example. It could even cultivate magical powers like humans. Looking again, the giant ape had blood-red hair and was somewhat similar to the heavenly demon Venerable. This giant ape also had a pair of foot-long fangs that were very sharp. It was more than 10 feet tall, and its pair of huge arms were constantly stretching out. It was even fighting with the Dharma treasure Xian Guang that Monarch Ba Mo and Monarch Sai Shui had used. What a powerful giant ape! Su Fang immediately used his magical power, allowing Ting Ba, who was in the crucible transformation realm, to see everything in the cave through his great perfection ability. Ting Ba was still recovering. When he saw Su Fang's magical power, he was shocked to see such a complicated abyss in the distance. He suddenly shook his head. "Master, I have never seen that giant ape before. There are many big goblin of the ape race in the desolate swamp astral boundary. They are generally more powerful than most big goblins. They are the kings of their own territories. This subordinate has always liked to work alone, so I didn't provoke these ape race big goblins." At the same time, Ting Ba also said that he had never been to the depths of the floating Soul Valley. He didn't know what was down there. He usually only hunted humans on the surface of the floating Soul Valley. Su Fang actually wanted to suppress the giant ape, but after thinking about it, he decided against it. The giant ape was stronger than Ting Ba. Although it couldn't be compared to Dai, it was still as powerful as the Black Python King. He couldn't afford to offend this big goblin. Chapter 1032. Not only could they not afford to offend it, but they also couldn't have any ideas about it. However, the giant ape was very powerful. It fought with Sovereign Ba Mo and Sovereign Sai. The more powerful it was, the more likely it was stronger than the Black Python King, and was close to Dai. Unfortunately, the giant ape was surrounded and suppressed by 2 peerless experts of the demonic Tao. During this process, Su Fang truly witnessed the strength of the great world's powerhouses. Sovereign Ba Mo had lost his left hand, but he was still very powerful. With a casual palm strike, the demonic aura could shatter a large area of rock. With a spurt of demonic poison, it could burn the giant ape's divine ability until it couldn't use it. As for Sovereign Sai, he was just as powerful or even more so. After all, he wasn't injured. With the burning demonic aura under his feet, he almost displayed the power of his domain, shackling the giant ape and preventing it from escaping the cave. The giant ape was in trouble. Not only was it injured, but it also couldn't escape the cave. The big goblin outside seemed to have sensed that something was wrong. Soon, one of them escaped, followed by another. Overall, the demonic mountain's fame shook the great world. As a great force, they could also suppress such a big goblin in the wasteland. PFFF. In less than 2 hours, a strange sound came from the cave. This king would rather die than fall into the hands of the demonic Tao and be refined into a puppet. After releasing his great perfection ability, Su Fang saw that the giant ape was hit in the head by a demonic blade. It was a demonic weapon used by Sovereign Sai. The giant ape couldn't move, but it suddenly slapped its own chest. He had actually shattered his own heart. In the end, such a powerful monster had committed suicide under the joint attack of Sovereign Ba Mo and Sovereign Sai Shui. It died in such a miserable way. After the internal battle ended, the big goblin outside didn't dare to delay and fled. Su Fang looked inside the cave again. The 2 demonic Tao actually used demonic blades to remove some of the giant ape's blood and tendons. They also took the spirit bead. The spirit bead. It was as big as a fist, which showed how deep the giant ape's cultivation was and how many years it had cultivated. Unfortunately, it died so tragically at the hands of two demon sovereigns. Blood Sovereign, this ape's entire body is filled with treasures. Have some people stay here and clean it up. Let's go in and take a look. Monarch Bamo stepped on the giant ape's head and strode forward. The other demonic path masters also entered the cave, stepping over the giant ape's corpse. That huge ape's corpse is a supreme treasure. If I can obtain it, it will be of great help to me. The huge ape's life force is extremely strong. I can infuse its blood into the yin-yang immortal sky pellet to strengthen it. At this moment, Su Fang's heart was set on obtaining the giant ape's corpse. His eyes were practically burning with desire. He told the Wuling Goblin to wait on the cliff in the distance. After waiting for half a day, he heard Blood Sovereign Sai say, "We only managed to obtain a few secret tomes. But from this one, we can tell that this cave really was an ancient demonic path's cultivation ground. There is a blood pool in the depth. Although it has already dried up, it still emits a shocking aura. Unfortunately, we came too late. The cave lost the protection of the formation in the wasteland, and the blood pool no longer exists." Monarch Baimo also said angrily, "From the remnant demonic runes in the blood pool, it is recorded that the cave's master cultivated a special kind of demonic art in the blood pool. From the looks of it, it must have been extraordinary. Unfortunately, it was destroyed by those big goblins. Those bastards. Let's go deeper. There is another place in Floating Soul Valley that also has a demonic Dao ruin." After waiting for a few breaths' time, Monarch Baimo and Blood Sovereign Sai led everyone out of the cave, leaving behind only two demonic Dao experts. They continued flying deeper into the abyss, disappearing in the blink of an eye. "Brother, we are also unlucky. We still have to clean up this demon's corpse and carefully search this cave for a while more. It may seem like a hard job, but if we find anything or obtain any treasures, we can share some. Moreover, Floating Soul Valley is so dangerous. There might be big goblin in the depths, as well as some unpredictable dangers. It is good for us to stay here. It is good to comfort ourselves like this." Inside the cave, the two demonic mountain disciples returned to the cave after sending off the experts. They spat their saliva impatiently. One of them stayed beside the giant ape and took out a bottle. The other went deeper into the cave, looking for something in the rubble and ruins. These two are very powerful, but they are still not as powerful as Ting Ba. The giant ape's corpse is extremely rare. We can obtain the corpse after killing these two. Also, Blood Sovereign Sai said that there is a blood pool in the depths of the cave. Could the blood pool be the ancient demonic golden core's blood pool that I am looking for? Could it be that the cave's master also cultivated the Yellow Springs Blood Sea? After using his grand perfection ability to capture the movements of the two demonic Dao experts, Fang Fang did not follow them. Su Fang didn't plan to follow the two demon monarchs. Instead, he wanted to obtain the giant ape's corpse and enter the blood pool in the depths of the Devil's Denver. Perhaps this was the place he was looking for. Although the possibility was not high, he still had to take a look. Especially the giant ape's corpse. Its powerful life force blood could make many commanders powerful. By Ling, Blue Feather King, the Undying Tortoise, and the Vermilion Emperor all needed it. Ting Ba. Su Fang suddenly released his vision and looked at the cave with the recovering Ting Ba. How strong are those two devils? Are you confident you can deal with them? Ting Ba had recovered a bit while he was in the crucible transformation realm. The yin-yang immortal sky pellet's wondrous effects made him exclaim in admiration. He immediately replied, "Their strength is not bad, but they are still not my match. This subordinate's opponent is the giant ape. Even if this subordinate is injured, I can still suppress those two." "That's good. You go deal with those two, and then I will release the gorilla devil. It will spray out poison to help you suppress them for a short period of time. If you do this well, I will give you even more yin-yang immortal sky pills. Furthermore, I will give you unimaginable benefits in the future. This subordinate is willing to serve master. Wooling Goblin. With a command, the Wooling Goblin crawled toward the demonic Chi cave that was half a mile away. Soon, they arrived at the demonic Chi cave. The cave was extremely large and majestic. The Wooling Goblin suddenly opened its mouth, and Su Fong came out. The moment he appeared, he sent out a stream of monstrous Qi into the cave. Whoosh! Demonic Qi surged out of thin air. Ting Ba, who was clad in armor, grabbed the meteor hammer and instantly charged into the cave with a huff. The 30-meter-long gorilla devil also arrived at the cave entrance and followed Su Fong into the cave. Pa! Pa! The inside was already filled with fighting auras. When Su Fong and the gorilla devil entered the cave, they saw a demonic Dao expert being smashed by Ting Ba's meteor hammer on his flying sword, sending him and his flying sword flying. As for the other person, he attacked Ting Ba, but he was easily blocked by Ting Ba. Ting Ba's meteor hammer forced the opponent to retreat. Chi! 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 Under Su Fong's control, the gorilla devil spat out 2 streams of poison. One stream pounced at the injured demonic Dao expert, while the other pounced at Ting Ba. Ting Ba dodged very cleverly, and the poison pounced on the demonic Dao expert. That demonic Dao expert was poisoned, and he crazily stimulated his golden core to ignite a terrifying demonic flame. He wanted to fight Ting Ba to the death. In order to prevent the 2 experts from asking Monarch Ba Mo and Blood Sovereign Sai for help, Su Fong asked Ting Ba to kill them. Ting Ba released even more demonic aura and threw out the meteor hammer in his hand. The demonic flame expert had just taken out his flying sword when he was sent flying by the meteor hammer's aura. In the next second, the meteor hammer smashed that demonic Dao expert into meat paste. Meat paste was also good stuff. Su Fong asked the ghouls to appear and enjoy the meat paste. He continued to ask Ting Ba to kill that severely injured demonic Dao expert. As for Su Fong, he went to the corpse of the giant ape that had its head cut open and activated the Xian Huang 6 Paths Pagoda. His palm turned into a pagoda door, and he sucked the head and corpse in. This was a treasure that allowed countless commanders to become stronger and crazily increase their strength. At this moment, Ting Ba carried a headless corpse over. Naturally, the corpse was shattered by his meteor hammer. The corpse was rewarded to the giant gorilla devil behind him. After absorbing the gorilla devil and the ghouls into his body, Su Fong brought Ting Ba to the center of the cave. Ting Ba looked around. This subordinate has never been here before. The floating Soul Valley is not as famous as the Phoenix Transformation Valley. However, there is spatial turbulence below. I heard that it can suck people and objects into other spaces and get lost forever. It's fine. I just want to see if there's anything I want here. Bang! At this moment, Su Fong immediately used his great perfection ability to sense the surroundings of the demonic Qi cave. He really found some ancient era's immortal stones and a few ancient era's magic treasures. They were all demonic artifacts, but their quality was only average. He also found that the demonic Qi cave still had a bit of formation power. Buzz. Suddenly, some Dao runes from the heavenly secret life shrinking technique appeared in his mind. Su Fong analyzed the Dao runes and was pleasantly surprised. There was actually a trace of demonic Qi similar to the ancient devil gold core in this cave. What a coincidence! Could this really be the remains of the ancient devil gold core's owner? Ting Ba saw that Su Fong was pleasantly surprised and pondering for a while. He felt that it was very strange. He immediately brought Ting Ba deeper into the cave. At the same time, Su Fong took out many high-grade pills from the storage rings of the 2 demonic Dao experts he killed before and gave them to Ting Ba. The cave's periphery was almost 1 li wide. Inside the cave, there were many mysterious demonic runes and totems. When they entered the last cave, Su Fong's mind flashed with a strong Dao rune of destiny. The direction of the Dao rune was a pool in the cave. What pool? When Su Fong came to the side to take a look, he saw that there were blood-red rocks inside. It was about 10 zhang deep. There were some cracks at the bottom, but it was impossible for people to pass through. After looking around, he finally found a demonic chi similar to the ancient devil gold core in some of the demonic runes that had disappeared beside the blood pool. The demonic runes intertwined to form a white-robed old man embedded in the rock. There were also some blurry demonic runes around him. In summary, this white-robed old man was the master of the demonic Dao cultivators in this cave. He was called the 100-virtue ancient devil. It was the 100-virtue ancient devil's demonic runes that had the same aura as the ancient devil gold core. After thinking for a while, Su Fong's eyes suddenly lit up. The 100-virtue ancient devil gold core. It seems like the ancient devil cave's owner was once the 100-virtue ancient devil's disciple. The 100-virtue ancient devil is most likely the owner of the ancient devil gold core. Buzz. There was a buzz in his mind. Su Fong looked away from the 100-virtue ancient devil's demonic runes and brought Ting Ba to the periphery of the cave in horror. He used his perfected ability. Not good. 5 demonic mountain experts are coming. They are just 100 meters away from the cave. It's obvious that they have sensed the appearance of the 2 demonic Dao experts. Master. Ting Ba was also anxious. There were 5 of them, and they should be stronger than the 2 demonic Dao experts. They were just 100 meters away. It was impossible to escape now. Su Fong couldn't think of any good ideas. Chapter 1033. Su Fong suddenly looked around. There was no cave at all, and there was no other way out. However, when he saw the dried blood pool, his eyes lit up. Suddenly, he released the wooling goblin. It transformed into its true form and sucked Su Fong and Ting Ba into its stomach before quickly crawling towards the blood pool. Whoosh! Almost at the same time, 5 demonic mountain experts with demonic auras flashed outside the cave. These 5 experts were too powerful. They were twice as powerful as the 2 experts killed by Ting Ba previously. They were even more powerful than Qi Yanzi and Huangfu Xiao Xiao. Existences of this level should be the true core disciples of Demonic Mountain, just below the elders. Seal the cave entrance, and the lives of the 2 junior brothers disappeared. In addition, the giant ape's corpse is also gone. The person who attacked is probably still in this ancient cave. Whoosh! Whoosh! One of them gave a strict order. One of the experts immediately formed a seal to seal the entrance of the cave tightly and left it in the cave. The remaining 4 experts stood side by side and released their sensing power. Through the whistling devil chi, they scanned the surroundings, not wanting to miss any place. Inside the cave, inside the dried blood pool, even the wooling goblin was sweating. It transformed into a stone belt and slowly crawled from the edge of the pool to the wall of the pool that was 100 feet deep. Inside, Ting Ba looked at Su Fong. Master, where should we escape to? There's no place to hide in this blood pool. At this moment, the supreme domineering aura of a small world's realm master suddenly appeared on Su Fong's face. Let the wooling goblin go deep into the crack first. As deep as it can go. If it really can't go, we'll just fight it out. Fight? How could he fight a dignified demon king like Ting Ba? He was not confident and he kept gasping. At this moment, under Su Fong's control, the wooling goblin reached the bottom of the blood pool that was 70 to 80 feet deep. It was just a little bit away from those cracks. The cracks in the depths looked less than half a foot wide. How could a person fit in? His great perfection ability was also being released. He could clearly sense that outside the blood pool, the 4 demonic experts were slowly approaching the inner cavern. In a few breaths of time, they would arrive at the blood pool. Once they arrived at the blood pool, he could only stimulate the godly might of the earth as much as possible, allowing the wooling goblin to hide in the crack. The Wooling Goblin was an earth elemental spiritual monster. In addition, Su Fang had the Xian Wang Six Paths Pagoda natal magic weapon. He also had the earth elemental divine power. With the release of the power of the world, Su Fang believed that he could hide the Wooling Goblin in the crack. However, he was still not sure if he could hide it from the four masters. Master! At this critical moment, the Wooling Goblin had already reached the bottom of the blood pool. With Su Fang's permission, it suddenly crawled towards one of the bloody cracks. Su Fang also began to activate the Xian Wang Six Paths Pagoda. Buzz. As a result, just as the Wooling Goblin entered the bloody crack, Su Fang saw a strange Xian Guang in the crack that turned blood red. Suddenly, as the Wooling Goblin entered, it suddenly became dazzling. Even his great perfection vision could not see what was going on. It was not as good as his other senses, but he sensed that the Wooling Goblin seemed to have lost its center of gravity at this moment and fell into an infinite abyss. Moreover, there was a familiar yet unfamiliar spatial airflow that was dragging the Wooling Goblin into the bloody abyss. Not only was the Wooling Goblin scared out of its wits, but even Ting Ba was trembling in fear. No one knew what the abyss of the wasteland was, or what had happened. However, with Su Fangda's great perfection ability, although he temporarily lost his vision, his other senses were still there. He felt as if he had fallen into an abyss in the depths of the wasteland. In other words, under the blood pool, those seemingly ordinary cracks were actually connected to the abyss in the depths of the wasteland. After about 3 breaths, under the great perfection perception, a hole seemed to have appeared in the abyss of the wasteland of nothingness, as if there was a suction force that swallowed the Wooling Goblin. Then, an impact force shook the Wooling Goblin until it screamed in pain. At this time, Su Fangda's great perfection vision also recovered. As the Wooling Goblin turned upside down, it suddenly saw that it seemed to be in an ancient abyss of demonic qi. There was another rumble. Su Fang immediately flew out of the Wooling Goblin's body with Ting Ba. When they landed, they saw that the Wooling Goblin was seriously injured, and there were several lacerations on its body. He quickly gave it a pill and then absorbed it into the Crucible Transformation Cauldron. The Crucible Transformation Cauldron could absorb the Yin-Yang Immortal Sky Pill to recover. Ting Ba suddenly looked uneasy. Master, here? Su Fang immediately cared about the Wooling Goblin. This was the big goblin that came to the great world with him from the small world, and it had contributed to him many times. After comforting it, Ting Ba pointed, and his eyes were filled with shock. Suddenly, there were 2 30-feet-tall demonic statues in front of them. Without any warning, their faces were ferocious, and their hands were brandishing large sabers. Their eyes were staring at him. He was so scared that he was out of breath. Fortunately, he had the great perfection ability, and he immediately realized that the 2 demonic statues were not alive, but just statues. They were just too lifelike. Where is this place? A big question mark floated in Su Fang's mind. He then looked around the demonic statues with Ting Ba. This was actually a huge, ancient cave that was more than 5 kilometers wide. Other than the occasional airflow, it was very obvious that there was ancient demonic qi. Behind them was a bottomless abyss filled with spatial turbulence. The spatial turbulence released a shocking suction force, sucking in some substances from time to time. Master, this seems to be a wasteland. What happened just now? Could it be that there's something strange about the blood pool? After looking for a while, he could not see anything. He was just slightly used to this gloomy deep world. Ting Ba's face was full of questions, and he wanted to ask non-stop. In fact, even Su Fang could not answer. However, he had a feeling that the blood pool was not simple, just like Ting Ba. He did not understand, but someone guaranteed that he knew. That person was Luo. When he asked, Luo said from the blood jade, "That demonic chi cave is still very strange, especially that blood pool." In fact, that blood pool has a very strange spatial formation that allows the blood pool to merge with the space in the depths of the wasteland. Once someone enters the depths of the blood pool, they will enter the spatial formation and come to this demonic chi cave. Why didn't the two demonic sovereigns see the secret below the blood pool? Thinking of Ba Mo sovereign and Sai Shui sovereign, Su Fong felt that something was wrong. Could it be that with their cultivation bases, they could not see through the secret here? Luo explained, spatial formations are the strangest of all formations. Cultivators who can master spatial formations are very rare. In addition, this spatial formation is naturally fused with the blood pool. Below the blood pool is the abyss of the wasteland. Ordinary people cannot see through it. Although the two demonic sovereigns are powerful, if they do not personally go down to the blood pool, they will not be able to see it. So that's how it is. Su Fong finally understood the ins and outs of the matter. However, there were more doubts in his heart. A demonic cultivator actually spent so much effort to design the entrance. Then this demonic chi cave was definitely not simple. Buzz. Releasing his full power, Su Fong's perception began to fluctuate violently. He immediately looked in the direction of the two demonic statues. It's the aura of the ancient devil gold core. It's very powerful and very abundant. This is the ancient ruin that the demonic cultivator who obtained the ancient devil gold core accidentally came to. It was really a case of wearing out iron shoes in a fruitless search, only to find it without any effort. Su Fong had painstakingly searched a large amount of wasteland for half a year, but he did not find the demonic ruins where the ancient devil gold core was. He did not expect to find it so quickly. After calming down, he began to carefully walk towards the two demonic statues with the big goblin Ting Ba. The demonic statues were extremely lifelike. They were enlarged versions of demonic cultivators. Behind the demonic statues was a circular stone door that was nearly 30 meters tall. It seemed to be perfectly fused with the rocks behind it. There was no way to open the stone door. Just as he and Ting Ba were carefully walking past the demonic statues, Luo suddenly said, "Don't be ignorant of treasures." "What's wrong? There are treasures?" Su Fong was startled and immediately stopped. He looked around but did not find any treasures. "The two demonic statues above us are treasures." Demonic statues! When he looked up, he could not help but feel a chill on his neck. That was because the demonic statues were holding two large blades that were pointed at his neck. With one slash, his head would be separated from his body. "Master." Ting Ba also looked around when he saw Su Fong was stunned. These two demonic statues are puppets refined by demonic cultivators. The outside is covered by rocks while the inside is the true body of the puppet. Break the outer wall of the demonic statues. When the demonic statues appear, drip your blood into them and fuse with them. Will there be a mechanism? If there really is a mechanism, it would have been destroyed by cultivators who came here before. For example, that demonic cultivator who obtained the ancient devil gold core. He also came here before, but he was able to return alive. That means the entrance here has already been destroyed. Then it won't be easy to break these demonic statues. After chatting with Luo, he brought Ting Ba back a bit. When he sensed the demonic statues again, they had a faint demonic nature. He really could not tell that they were treasures. He immediately had Ting Ba use his meteor hammer to attack the demonic statues. Ting Ba was a bit afraid and did not understand. When he learned that there were puppets inside, he understood what was going on. He then carefully swung his meteor hammer at one of the demonic statues. Crack! Ting Ba was already very strong. Coupled with a high-grade Dharma treasure, his attack was shockingly powerful. The demonic statue immediately shattered. The black rocks on its surface began to peel off piece by piece along with the crack. After a while, 1/3 of the demonic statues disappeared. A demonic statue that was emitting a shocking amount of demonic chi appeared. It was entirely black and golden. Although it was also lifelike, it was not a real person. It was a puppet refined from material. This kind of puppet was also a kind of Dharma treasure, a kind of divine weapon. Tingba was shocked by Su Fang. He could even find a treasure here. Next, he broke the outer layer of the other demonic statue. It was also a puppet. The two puppets were exactly the same. Furthermore, they were both high-grade Dharma treasures. These two puppets were of the same quality as high-grade Dharma treasures. Tingba was also amazed. Master, you've struck gold. I've heard that in the human world, this kind of puppet Dharma treasure is very rare. Su Fang circled around the demonic statues. Behind the two demonic statues, 2 lines of demonic text appeared. To enter the 100 Virtues Ancient Devil's Dojo, you must cultivate the yellow spring blood sea. He was very excited. This is it. This is the place I'm looking for. If the yellow spring blood sea is here, then this demonic relic must be the dojo of the 100 Virtues Ancient Devil. However, Tingba still did not know what Su Fang meant. He dripped his blood to identify the treasures. Su Fang would not be polite. He was also worried that a powerhouse from the demonic mountain would enter the blood pool and accidentally enter the blood pool's spatial formation. He asked Tingba to keep an eye on the surroundings from behind. When he saw the circular ancient stone door behind him, he immediately rose into the air and condensed a few drops of blood, which dripped on the heads of the puppets. He also released demonic chi to entangle the two puppets. The puppets were black and golden before, and their luster was a little dim. However, after absorbing the blood, they suddenly came to life from holding weapons and looking like they were in an attacking state. They suddenly stood upright and turned to look at Su Fang as if they were also alive. This kind of puppet is not complicated, and it's easy to fuse with it. Although it's a Dharma treasure like a Dharma treasure, it's not as complicated as a Dharma treasure. Its attacks are simple, and it only knows some ordinary divine abilities, Luo Zai said calmly. Chapter 1034. After Law finished speaking, Su Fang looked at the two cold puppets that were fusing with the blood essence. I think that the simpler the puppets, the better. Is that so? Law was surprised. It is not easy for a cultivator to cultivate. You have to control your magic power, true chi, physical strength, life force, and countless meridians and flesh. When facing a strong enemy, sometimes directly activating a strong destructive power is the simplest way to attack. This kind of puppet is just right for this purpose. Once activated, it can use its destructive power to kill a strong enemy and defeat them. For you to have such an understanding, it is also a kind of growth for you. Now let's take a look at the ancient stone door. At this moment, Su Fang's attention was on the circular stone door behind him. The stone door was almost black, as if it was carved from a cliff and naturally fused with the rock. After an hour, the two puppets finally fused and were sucked into Su Fang's hands at the same time. Now, other than the powerful gorilla demon and Tingba that were suppressed previously, Su Fang also had two puppets that could fight against strong experts. Tingba came forward. Congratulations, Master, for obtaining such a unique treasure. Think of a way to enter the stone door. There must be many treasures inside, you will also benefit from it. He nodded and brought Tingba to the stone door. When they arrived at the circular stone door, it was as if they were facing an incomparably sturdy rock that could not be shaken. Tingba first glanced and carefully sized it up, but he was very disappointed. It is perfect, there are no gaps, but there are many devil patterns. Master, I can't do anything about it. Don't worry, since there is a door here, it means that there is a way to enter. Wait first. If it was easy to find the stone door's secret, then the demonic cultivator who obtained the ancient devil gold core would have already entered the stone door. He released his grand perfection realm ability and looked at the stone door from top to bottom. Some of the tadpole-like devil patterns made Su Fang's eyes light up with joy. From these devil patterns there were records about the stone door. Turned out that this was the mark of the 100-virtue ancient devil Dao field, and it was the tomb of the 100-virtue ancient devil. Most of the devil patterns were inscriptions, but there was no information about opening the stone door. However, there was a section of devil patterns that mentioned that this stone door could only be opened by the fated person who controlled the Yellow Spring Blood Sea. Yellow Spring Blood Sea. The ancient devil Golden Core was right. If he wanted to enter the ancient devil mausoleum, he had to start from the Acheron Blood Sea. However, the inscriptions didn't mention how to use the Yellow Springs Blood Sea to enter the depths of the stone door. Luo. After a stalemate for half a second, Su Fang could only ask Luo for help. However, Law said indifferently, "This requires you to focus your mind and put yourself in a supreme state of concentration. When you look at the stone door again, you will find something. It's best if you release your devil chi. It will be more helpful for you to be in the state of devil chi. Since you want everything here, you have to have this ability." Alright. It seems that Law is numb and has no intention of helping. But in reality, he had already helped him by telling him how to open the stone door. This was like a Hercules who only had physical strength. If he wanted to move an unshakable boulder, he could only use brute force. However, those who were wise could combine their strength ingeniously and easily move the boulder. Su Fang used to be a Hercules. With Law's method, Su Fang can open the stone gate. Since that was the case, he immediately sat cross-legged in front of the stone door and activated the heavenly demon book. The devil chi in his body kept hiding and was released with a whoosh. Ting Ba kept exclaiming as he watched below. He never thought that Su Fang, a cave immortal, could control the power of the righteous path and the devil path at will. In the state of devil chi, Su Fang burned his sea of mana. After burning continuously, Su Fang abandoned all distracting thoughts. The Baishan Demon Lord, the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor, the constellation of 9 heavens, Baby Huangfu, Li Tianqi, Mu Shuo, Huangfu Yunhai, Huangfu Duan, Prince Shui, Huang Lingyao, and Xing Changxing. There was only himself, and then there was only the ancient stone door in front of him that was covered with devil patterns. He seemed to have lost his center of gravity. All he could see was the stone door. Gradually, he could see the trajectory of the devil patterns with the naked eye, as well as some carvings that contained devil patterns. It was as if the stone door in front of him was a surging sea of devil chi, and Su Fang was somehow in this sea of devil chi. The sea of devil chi was constantly attacking the weak him, as if it was about to devour him time and time again. Su Fang knew that all of this was fake, but he still continued to surge with the sea of devil chi. Finally, he gained something. As the sea of devil chi surged to the end, Su Fang saw that the place where the sea of devil chi went was actually a blood-colored hole that was only as thick as a finger. A blood-colored hole. It was so small and insignificant that it actually swallowed the entire sea of devil chi. It was not simple. All the power surged into the blood-colored hole. The stone door disappeared, and only this blood-colored hole existed. The mystery is this blood-colored hole. After finding the secret of the stone door, he suddenly activated his true chi. All the illusions suddenly disappeared, but the blood-colored hole was deeply imprinted in the depths of the stone door. Su Fang could see the blood-colored hole in the depths of the stone door at a glance. Law suddenly said, "Yes, the blood-colored hole is the secret of the stone door. It is also the passage to the 100 virtues ancient devil Dao right. Then how do I go in?" This was a huge problem that Su Fang helplessly placed in front of him. This is why the Yellow Springs Blood Sea is the only condition to enter the ruins. That blood-colored hole is actually very simple. You just need to activate the Yellow Springs Blood Sea and follow the path you saw formed by the devil runes. Enter the blood-colored hole in the state of the Yellow Springs Blood Sea. It's so simple. It was originally not troublesome, but your cultivation is too low, and you have too little experience. It is hard for you to see through the truth and the essence of matter. That is to say, my cultivation is far from enough. I am very weak now, but in the future, I will definitely become a peerless immortal emperor like the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor. It is time to go in. Yellow Springs Blood Sea. After saying that, Su Fong first let Ting Ba enter the treasure space, then looked at the devil runes on the stone door. In a breath's time, he saw the blood-colored hole. The blood-colored hole seemed to have a boundless attractive force that wanted Su Fong to enter. Furthermore, from that blood-colored hole, he could sense the same devil chi as the ancient devil gold core. His body immediately began to crack, and gradually turned into blood. Boom! Just as Su Fong's entire body was about to turn into blood, a deafening roar suddenly came from above the abyss of nothingness. It was so shocking that the entire land in the depths of the ruins began to shake. Su Fong, who had already turned into blood, condensed a human face from the blood. He turned to look at the void of nothingness behind him. There was actually a blood-colored devil chi xian guang seeping out from above. Move! Someone is also coming in from the blood pool. Law hastily reminded them. Su Fong's entire body was in blood. He activated the Yellow Springs Blood Sea, and the body formed from blood rushed towards the devil runes on the stone door. Whoosh! Whoosh! Devil chi figures immediately appeared above the void of nothingness. The blood-colored devil chi xian guang appeared in the form of lines and then turned into real figures. The first to appear was the celestial Devil Mountain's blood monarch. He noticed the devil runes on the stone door as soon as he appeared. Next to him were a dozen Devil Dao experts from the celestial Devil Mountain. Su Fong's blood had already begun to seep into the devil runes on the stone door. A blood-colored crack appeared in the stone door, sucking in half of Su Fong's Yellow Springs Blood Sea state. Su Fong's human face looked back in horror. It's really a master from the Celestial Devil Mountain. Blood Monarch, it seems that the Celestial Devil Mountain is indeed a big force. The mysterious death of 2 disciples made them want to investigate the devil's den above. In the end, the blood pool was the best, but it still made Blood Monarch discover the secret space formation and come here. Fortunately, I've already found the secret of the stone door. This also shows that big forces are not so easy to fool. Oh! The blood-colored devil light had not completely disappeared. Blood Monarch, who had just become real, suddenly shrank his pupils. There was a touch of blood in his pupils, and Su Fong's human face. Sure enough, there's something strange. This should be the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's ruins. You brat! How dare you kill my Celestial Devil Mountain's disciples and seize everything by yourself? You're courting death. Blood Monarch, who had the strength of an elder, actually came out in anger. Seeing Blood Monarch coming, Su Fong's heart kept thumping. Fortunately, 4/5 of the blood pool state was gone, so there was only a little left. Chi. Su Fong didn't expect Blood Monarch's eye to reach the stone door in the blink of an eye. He waved his hand, and a supreme devil aura swept out towards Su Fong's remaining blood pool. Boom! It seemed that Su Fong was going to die this time. Even Su Fong himself was scared. But the result was the opposite. Blood Monarch's eye's terrifying power seemed to have hit the blood pool, but it actually hit the demonic stone door. It only shook the stone door, but it couldn't affect Su Fong. Su Fong's human face suddenly became proud. Hee, Blood Monarch Sai, you're overestimating yourself. This is a relic left behind by an ancient demon venerable. How can you compare to an ancient demon venerable? You're really powerful, but don't be so proud. You think I can't take you down just because you have the stone door's demonic patterns protecting you? Blood Monarch Sai shouted furiously. That's your problem. Supreme Devour. In the next second, Su Fang almost completely disappeared into the stone door and entered the blood-colored world inside the stone door. But Blood Monarch Sai suddenly separated his hands, and his body suddenly shattered and turned into blood pool. His blood pool was really blood pool, blood red. Su Fang's yellow spring blood sea looked like blood pool, but it was very viscous and couldn't be seen through. As expected of the title of Blood Monarch, it was Su Fang's turn to be unable to laugh. He never expected Blood Monarch Sai to have such ability. Only now do you realize how terrifying I am. The treasury belongs to my demonic mountain. Blood Monarch Sai, who had turned into blood pool, suddenly rushed towards the stone door. He was only 1 meter away from Su Fang's blood pool. It seemed that Su Fang had no chance to escape at this distance, but he was already sweating profusely. Chi. Blood Monarch Sai's blood pool suddenly touched Su Fang's blood pool. Many blood-colored bone claws grew out, wanting to grab Su Fang's blood pool. But Su Fang's worried expression suddenly disappeared. Instead, he calmed down. Bang, bang, bang. As a result, just as the blood-colored bone claws grabbed Su Fang's blood pool, a supreme divine power appeared in the surroundings and turned into a Xian Guang of demonic qi. It swept up the blood-colored bone claws and Blood Monarch Sai's blood pool, overturning it. Su Fang's remaining blood pool emitted a demonic flame. Then, Su Fang's face and the last bit of blood pool disappeared into the blood-colored opening and also disappeared into the depths of the demonic stone door. Damn it! This kid seems to be a cave immortal, an ordinary demonic cultivator, but he actually has such a demonic body. Blood Monarch Sai's blood pool flew several meters away and transformed back into his original body. The dozen or so demonic cultivators behind him also gathered around him. One of them suggested, "Demon Monarch, let's use all our strength to break this stone door. Once we open the stone door, the Yellow Spring Devil Emperor's ruins will naturally be ours." The others also agreed. Especially when they saw someone enter the ruins first, how could they be willing to accept it? Blood Monarch Sai suddenly waved his hand and ordered someone, "Immediately go and find Sovereign Ba Mo. I'll join hands with him first. I think we can break the stone door if we join hands. If it doesn't work, we can only ask the sect to send experts to help. We can't let the Yellow Spring Devil Emperor's ruins be taken away by a kid." Chapter 1035. Yes, we will release the mark immediately. Several experts flew towards the abyss of spatial turbulence behind them. Blood Sovereign Sai led the remaining people to the area around the demonic stone gate and carefully searched the inner and outer layers of the gate. Blood Sovereign, this stone gate is unfathomable. It is perfectly integrated with this wasteland. How many years did it take to achieve this state? The Yellow Spring Devil Emperor is one of the most ferocious devil emperors in our Devil Path's ancient records. He once established the Yellow Spring Immortal World, causing the Righteous Path's Immortal World to tremble in fear. How many magic treasures did he have, and how many experts gathered under him? The kid who entered the Stone Gate was also a Devil Path cultivator, but I don't know where he came from. He should be a rogue cultivator who got lucky and entered the Stone Gate. Blood Sovereign, this person's cultivation is not high. Even if he obtained the ruins, it is impossible for him to come out from the inside. Taking a step back, since it is the Yellow Spring Devil Emperor's ruins, it is impossible for an ordinary cultivator to control it. That makes sense. At this time, several Devil Path experts surrounded Blood Sovereign Sai and spoke their thoughts. They also hoped that Blood Sovereign Sai would not be so angry. They all knew that a dignified Devil Mountain's sovereign, an elder, could not take down a cave immortal. Who would believe this? Blood Sovereign Sai coldly stared at the stone gate. Everyone, use your own abilities to break the demonic patterns on the stone gate. When Sovereign Ba Mo arrives, the stone gate will break. Yes. The experts began to release demonic qi and let it seep into the stone gate. And all of this, Su Fan, who had entered the stone gate, saw everything clearly. Even he found it hard to believe. It was as if Blood Sovereign Sai and the Devil Path experts were walking and discussing in front of him. Blood Sovereign Sai is truly worthy of being a sovereign lord. What shocking strength! Just now, if it weren't for the divine shackles of the stone gate protecting me, I'm afraid I would have already been pulled out of the stone gate or crushed to pieces on the spot. His face was covered in cold sweat. Then, he recovered from his panic and slowly looked behind him. At this moment, he saw that he was in a blood-red sea filled with blood-red demon qi. Everything in this sea of blood-red demon qi seemed to be a peerless space that could only be released by an expert who had mastered the yellow spring blood sea. There is a trace of life aura. Suddenly, his weak perception sensed a wisp of mana in front of him. It was the mana of life. In addition, there should be an end in front of him. It should be the ruins of the Baishan ancient demon. Su Fang tried his best to activate the underworld blood sea, but he could only use the strength of his feet to slowly float into the depths of the blood-red devil qi sea. Su Fang finally understood why only those who cultivated the underworld blood sea could enter the Baishan ancient devil ruins. It was because only those who cultivated the underworld blood sea could enter the blood-red devil qi sea. After floating for almost an hour, Su Fang finally found the source of that wisp of life mana. There was a demonic qi seal at the end of the bloody demonic qi ocean. Within the demonic qi was a palm-sized blob of blood. In the blood, a face the size of a walnut could be seen. Yellow Springs Blood Sea. Inside the demonic qi seal was someone who had cultivated the Yellow Spring Blood Sea. As he got closer, he could clearly see the human face in the blood. It was the Baishan ancient demon's devil pattern carving that he had seen at the periphery of the blood pool. It was the Baishan ancient devil, but he hadn't expected that an ancient devil sovereign would be reduced to a palm-sized Yellow Springs Blood Sea. When Su Fang got closer, the blood in the seal suddenly ignited. The Baishan ancient devil's face also slightly straightened. It slowly opened its eyes and looked at Su Fang with a trace of surprise. Junior Su Fang greets Senior Baishan. He didn't dare act rashly. Not only was the other party a peerless expert, but he also controlled the bloody demonic qi ocean. But Su Fang respected this person because he was a peerless expert. Experts were all worthy of respect. They had all gone through countless battles and dangers to obtain their peerless strength. The Baishan ancient devil's face was 10,000 times more natural than Su Fang's. It seemed to be immersed in the blood. It slowly opened its mouth and said in an ancient voice, "I'm a bit surprised. I felt that someone who had the karmic luck and strength to enter this place should be a peerless expert. This junior is indeed a bit unqualified." Su Fang shook his head helplessly. "You're qualified. If you weren't, why would you appear here? You're only at the 8 Dao Cave Immortal Realm, yet you're able to cultivate the Yellow Springs Blood Sea I left in the ancient Devil Gold Core. That's a peerless cultivation technique. Not even celestial immortals can cultivate it, but you've done it. You're qualified. That means you have peerless strength, courage, and wisdom. I was only able to cultivate the Yellow Springs Blood Sea by chance. I can guess how difficult it is for you to come here with your grotto immortal cultivation. Even the stone door outside is not something a grotto immortal cultivator can open. You are a young and promising junior. When I was in the grotto immortal, I couldn't cultivate the underworld blood sea. It was only after I became a master that I started to cultivate this peerless cultivation method. I won't say more about these insignificant things. The reason why I am still alive and have a little bit of life force left is that I want to pass everything to the destined person, which is you. I'll definitely work hard. Young man, you're called Su Fang. I'll remember that name. You must have come here for the inheritance I've been cultivating all my life. Indeed, this is the 100 Virtues Tao Temple, and it's a part of my inheritance. But that's not important because the secret of this ruin isn't the treasures, resources, or devil path cultivation techniques I left behind. There are other secrets. I'm all ears. I'll have to start from my past. Have you heard of the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor? I've never heard of him before. Later, I learned that the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor was a peerless devil emperor from a long time ago. Yes, that's not a legend. It's real. The Yellow Springs Devil Emperor really did exist. The Yellow Springs Immortal World also once stood proudly in the Immortal World. I was one of the 2 envoys by the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's side. I witnessed his glorious but short life. The 100 Virtues Ancient Devil side. I've wasted my life. Sitting here, I've forgotten who I am. In the past, I followed the Supreme Devil Lord, conquering the world and establishing everything. Young man, Su Fong, are you in the mood to listen to my past? Su Fong hastily nodded. Of course. Junior is also very interested in the passage of time and the secrets of the ancient era. I'm a bit talkative. After all, how many years has it been since I last spoke? I, the 100 Virtues Ancient Devil, followed the Yellow Springs Devil Lord after he became famous. I was once a righteous Tao cultivator. I remember those years very clearly. In order to join a power, I walked alone for tens of thousands of miles. Unfortunately, because I didn't give any benefits to the disciples of that power, I was mercilessly swept into the wilderness. Fortunately, I met the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor who was on his way to conquer that power. That was the first time I saw the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor. He was very ordinary, a black-robed young man in his 20s. He was roasting meat alone in the forest. When I smelled the meat, I woke up from my coma. I struggled to climb up and saw the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor, as well as that delicious meat. How could I have known that he was the Yellow Spring Great Emperor? He wasn't surprised at all when he saw me. He just put a piece of roasted meat aside and didn't say anything. He just watched me crawl towards him bit by bit. My skin was torn and my flesh was filled with stone dregs. I didn't get the roasted meat until I was about to breathe my last breath. I remember very clearly. After I ate my fill, the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor spoke. He only said one thing. People are still people, they still need to eat. After that one sentence, he disappeared. When I recovered and left the mountains, I saw that the world was in ruins. The great forces of the past were gone, and the corpses of the disciples of the great forces were everywhere. The corpses were piled up like mountains. Suddenly, the world turned into a sea of blood. I will never forget that scene for the rest of my life. That sea of blood suddenly descended from the heavens and earth, occupying the ruined training grounds of the former great forces. It actually covered countless corpses in an instant. I saw that sea of blood eating the corpses of the fallen disciples of the great forces. I heard the sound of bones breaking. I also heard the desolate cries for help from some disciples who were lucky enough to still be alive. When the blood disappeared, the countless corpses disappeared, and the world was no longer violent, I looked at the sky again. A young man in black suddenly walked out of the blood. It was a familiar face. He walked into the depths of the sky alone, but soon figures appeared beside him. I don't know what kind of power it was, but it made me chase after him with large strides. I became a part of that man's side, a part of the Yellow Springs Celestial Realm, a part of the Yellow Springs Celestial Realm, a part of the people who witnessed the birth of an immortal legend. The eyes of the Baishan ancient devil became wet at this moment. He looked just like an old man. As the old man nearing the end of his life was about to say something, Su Fang's face was filled with shock, and he stood there like a wooden puppet. He was unable to recover for a long time. Because in Su Fang's mind there was only one scene. A man was standing on the corpses of the disciples of the great forces of the Yellow Springs Celestial Realm. The ancient devil Baishan suddenly released his aura, causing Su Fang to wake up. I have too many stories. No matter how dazzling they can't compare to even a 10,000th of the Devil Masters. Young man, Su Fang, the Devil Emperor's past, the Devil Emperor's story, did it make your blood boil? I saw that you were also a devil cultivator when you entered the Stone Gate. You dared to face him head-on, which means you are also a decisive and ruthless person. I admit I'm decisive, but ruthless. Su Fang didn't agree. My principle is that if others don't bully me, I won't bully them. I also won't kill the innocent. That's your way of doing things, but it doesn't represent your heart. The ancient devil by Shan suddenly shouted. Calm down and think about it. See if I'm right. Do you think that in the world of countless monsters, a kind human can live for as long as you want? It's just like the cultivation world you live in. No matter if you're a human, a devil, or a devil, you're living in a monster world. Don't you find it strange that you're able to live until now? It's because you have an obsession in your heart, something that allowed you to live until today. It's called a Tao heart. A Tao heart in front of cultivators like us who have truly experienced the vicissitudes of life, is ruthless. Tao heart ruthless. Su Fang was silent because he suddenly found that he had nothing to say. Chapter 1036. This silent quibble was because Ancient Devil by Shan's words had deeply touched him. Many scenes flashed through his mind. In the past, why had he killed his way into Zhao? Was it just for revenge? That was because he wanted to prove himself and obtain recognition. He had to take down Zhao. That way, not only would he be able to take revenge, but he would also be able to conquer the impossible and prove that he could do it. He had met that heartless granny, who had tried to kill him time and time again. Was it because he wanted to live that he had resisted an undefeatable existence? No. That was just an excuse. The main reason was because Su Fang wanted to defeat an expert and prove himself to Xiao Meier. It was because of his viciousness that he was able to turn the situation around step by step. He killed those who needed to be killed without hesitation. Now that he thought about it, it was just because he didn't want to face reality. Living in this world meant that people killed people, people ate people, and I killed you, and you killed me. You can only rely on yourself to carve out a future and prove everything with your actions. But if you don't even have the strength and courage to live, how can you live until tomorrow? That's me, and that's you. Your heart isn't malicious, but in order to survive and become stronger, you've already forged a ruthless Tao heart in your heart. Those who bully me will die, and those who block me will be destroyed. I want to become a peerless figure, I want to stand at the top of the world. Because of this courage, if you can face your Tao heart directly, then your path of cultivation will be wider and smoother. Senior, I'll remember your words. Sometimes I just don't want my hands to be covered in blood. Haha, you're too soft-hearted. Moreover, I've already said that viciousness isn't just killing on the surface. Just now, when you were attacked by that devil, you resolutely resisted and dared to enter this place. That's your viciousness. Only with that viciousness and ruthlessness can you accomplish everything. Blood doesn't necessarily mean anything. You'll definitely become a peerless figure because I see the Devil Lord's shadow in you. Me? How could I have the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's shadow? Just now, I told you some of the Devil Lord's past. You'll think he's a devil who kills without blinking. In truth, the Devil Lord isn't a true Devil Tao cultivator. He's also a righteous Tao cultivator. The reason he's called a devil is because he wants to take revenge. In order to protect his friends, he conquers the world step by step, crushing all opposition. But he's different from you. You'll hesitate, you'll restrain yourself. But the Devil Lord will face all difficulties without hesitation. He knows that if he doesn't act, his family, his friends, and his past hatred will only make him powerless to struggle. the Devil Lord resolutely slaughtered his way out of this world. That's how the Devil Lord truly wants to become a legend. You also have the Devil Lord's forbearance and Tao-heart, but you don't have the Devil Lord's righteous killing, nor the courage to see yourself clearly. By Shan, ancient devil suppressed his momentum. As long as you kill people, it means your heart is very ruthless. That's a fact you can't deny. Let's not talk about this. After all, you're just a cave immortal. You won't understand just by saying a few words, but I believe you're gradually changing yourself. You'll also become someone like the Devil Lord. Now, I'll tell you the real secret of my Tao Temple. It's actually to protect the Devil Lord's tomb, as well as the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's remains that everyone wants to find. Su Fang was still speechless. Fortunately, he quickly recovered and looked blindly at the sea of blood. Senior Yellow Springs tomb is also here? No, this place only has the key to the Devil Lord's Tao Temple. You have to listen carefully. When the Devil Lord created the Yellow Springs immortal world, he wanted to create a world outside the reincarnation cycle of the laws of a major world. The Devil Lord wanted to go against the heavens. Why did cultivators have to live according to the laws of a major world? Wouldn't they be shackled forever? On the other hand, he also wanted to revive his dead friends and family. That was why he wanted to create the Yellow Springs immortal world outside the reincarnation cycle. But when the Devil Lord created the immortal world and began to create a world outside the reincarnation cycle, he suffered the wrath of the heavens during his tribulation. I've never seen the wrath of the heavenly Taos before. The pitiful Devil Lord had just reached the peak. He didn't have time to release his brilliance to the boundless major world before he fell under the power of the abominable heavenly laws. The heavenly Taos didn't allow anyone to go against them. The Devil Lord fell. His short life is still the brilliance that can't be erased. In fact, before the Devil Lord went through his tribulation, he faintly sensed that there was a crisis of the heavenly Taos that always haunted him. Even a heaven-defying figure like the Devil Lord had no choice but to make arrangements for his funeral with me and another guardian. Do you know how painful it was for the Devil Lord, who was at the peak of his power? In the end, the Devil Lord arranged for many people to secretly protect themselves in advance. After the Devil Lord was killed by the heavenly wrath, countless Devil Tao and Righteous Tao forces attacked the Yellow Springs immortal realm under the banner of eliminating the Devil Lord. Although the immortal realm resisted for a while without the Devil Lord, in the end, it couldn't hold on for long. You don't know what kind of massacre it was. When the Righteous Tao and Righteous Tao forces attacked the immortal realm, they killed anyone they saw and plundered any treasures they saw. Even the weak mortals like women, children, and the elderly were slaughtered one by one. Not a single one was left alive. The Devil Lord once planned to dismiss all the mortals, but he felt that those forces and people only hated him and wouldn't affect the innocent mortals. Those devil cultivators have been in the ruins of the Yellow Springs immortal world for several years, using living people and corpses for cultivation. Those righteous cultivators have plundered all the treasures of the Yellow Springs immortal world. This is what people call the righteous cultivators. When they kill people, they are no less ruthless than those of the devil cultivators. I understand that the Devil Lord challenged the laws of heaven and earth. Once he died, the scene would be like this. The Devil Lord also anticipated many things that would happen. Fortunately, everything that belonged to the Devil Lord, including the reincarnation cycle that he established, was sealed in the depths of this wasteland in time. Then, another emissary and I established 2 great Tao temples to guard the Devil Lord's Tao temples. Anyone who wants to enter the Tao temples has to go through the 2 emissaries' protection. Young man Su Fang, this is all you need to know. The 100 Virtues ancient devil's bloody state suddenly became somewhat ethereal. At this time, Su Fang finally understood most of the situation regarding the 100 Virtues ancient Devil Dao Temple and the Yellow Spring Devil Emperor's ruins. He just didn't expect that the legendary Devil Emperor who lived in the past would have such a rough life. This was something no one could have imagined. His previous impression of the Yellow Spring Devil Emperor was that he killed people like scything flax. He was an inhumane devil who killed without blinking an eye. But who would have thought that the Devil Emperor of a generation was actually such an ambitious and ruthless person? The 100 Virtues ancient devil continued, although the Devil Lord established the supreme immortal world, he was unable to create the reincarnation cycle that he dreamed of. If the heavens want people to die, they have no chance of living. Although the Devil Lord is no longer here, his will remains. He hopes that the person who inherits his legacy will one day be able to fulfill his dream and establish an eternal kingdom. Young man, I've said most of what I need to say. Once you enter the Devil Lord's Dao Temple, you will understand just how powerful the Devil Lord was. My responsibility is to protect the Dao Temple before the fated person arrives. But now that you have appeared, my mission is slowly fading away with time. Su Fang's eyes brightened. Since Senior still has flesh, your Yuan spirit can still live. No. When I first established this Dao Temple, I fused my life essence with it. Furthermore, I had already died at that time. You can see that this blood is just a tiny bit of my life essence. It is used to maintain the seal on my Yuan spirit. Furthermore, from the moment the Devil Lord died, I no longer had any thoughts of living. This is fate. Some people can only do one thing in their entire life. In this life, I will follow the Devil Lord, and even if I die, I will follow the Devil Lord. When the Devil Lord dies, I will also follow him. This, a shock as vast as an ancient mountain assaulted Su Fang's body and mind. His heart was filled with 100 Virtues ancient devil's words. People can only do one thing in their entire life, just to live and follow the Devil Lord. When the Devil Lord dies, he will also be buried with him. What kind of courage was this? What kind of determination was this? Who in the world could be this loyal? Who would have the courage to cut off their own path for a person, for a thought? Perhaps this was what a warrior meant by dying for his bosom friend. Courage. I thought that I was more hard-working than anyone else. I have endless courage. But compared to 100 Virtues ancient devil, what am I? I am just a lowly existence. Even Mu Shuo, Nangong Xiu, and Huang Fu Yunhai were powerless against them. What kind of courage do I have? At this moment, Su Fang was touched. It was like a stone that caused huge waves in his heart. When he saw 100 Virtues ancient devil again, he was filled with respect. What kind of person was this? To have such courage, to only have one thing in his entire life? Since my mission is complete, I should really disappear. I can live. With my abilities, I can continue to live. I can establish a huge Devil Dao faction in the immortal world. But what's the point of that? Young man, you have to work harder. Although you have cultivated the Yellow Spring Blood Sea, you have only just started. You can't even compare to this old man. Moreover, if you want to obtain the Devil Lord's inheritance, this is just the beginning. If you want to enter the Devil Lord's dojo, you will be blocked by the will left behind by the Devil Lord when he was alive. You need to obtain the permission of the Devil Lord before you can enter. Based on your current cultivation of the Yellow Spring Blood Sea, it is far from enough. You need to first integrate with my dojo and obtain my will imprint. Then you can enter the Devil Lord's dojo. Where is the Devil Lord's dojo? Wait until you fuse with the 1,000 flowing emissary dojo, then wait until your Yellow Springs Blood Sea becomes even stronger. You will naturally sense the Devil Lord's dojo in this wasteland. Farewell, young man. I hope that you, who we have waited for countless years, can continue the glory of the Devil Lord. 100 Virtues ancient devil's body suddenly burst into flames. He opened his mouth and spat out, will planting. So. His blood-water state suddenly turned into a mysterious flame that was sucked into Su Fang's Yellow Springs blood sea. Then, the world calmed down. It was as if 100 Virtues' ancient devil didn't exist. As for the end, a blood-red door appeared. Chapter 1037. The appearance of this blood-colored door seemed to indicate the disappearance of Baishan Ancient Demon's consciousness. He was no longer in the human world. An ancient demon of a generation, a giant who had created a legend with the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor in the past, followed the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor loyally and persistently. But in the depths of Su Fang's mind, the Tao runes of destiny sensed that Baishan Ancient Demon's consciousness existed in a certain space in the sea of magic power. Law suddenly sighed in the depths. It seems that the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor was not only a peerless genius, but also a peerless figure. This kind of person is the true hero. As a person, to be able to obtain eternal life, this person must be extraordinary. And the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor had countless people accompanying him throughout his life. He was even more a wise and brave person. Lo rarely praised a person. But he praised the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor time and time again. In Su Fang's mind, a scene that made him tremble appeared. I remember Baishan Ancient Demon said that the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor was killed by the wrath of heaven. Does the wrath of heaven really exist? It's better to believe in the wrath of heaven. A person's life in the world is so short. Either be mediocre for life, or be glorious like the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor. Although it's short, it will always be the most glorious. Yes. At this moment, Su Fang's mood was very heavy and very complicated. His life was originally a pool of peace, but he met Law, and today he met Baishan Ancient Demon from the ancient times. Hearing about their past made him feel a strong impact on his body and mind. Slowly controlling the Yellow Springs blood sea with a slight momentum, Su Fang crossed the blood-colored sea of demonic qi with great difficulty. When he left the blood-colored entrance, he felt a sense of weightlessness. The blood-colored light flashed, and in front of him was no longer a terrifying blood-colored world, but an ancient, silent, and still demonic qi space. This was a sealed demonic qi cave, estimated to be 3 miles of space. Su Fang first changed from the state of the Yellow Springs blood sea to a human body. Turning around, he saw a shocking seal behind him. Inside the seal was probably the blood-colored sea of demonic qi. As for the outside, it should be the demonic stone door. When he looked into the depths of the cave, he suddenly saw 3 extremely familiar winged serpents. He stumbled back a few steps, but discovered that it wasn't a living winged serpent, but a statue. It was erected in a triangular shape around the cave, and was about 5 feet tall. It looked fierce and lifelike, but upon closer inspection, he discovered that it didn't have any signs of life. Law suddenly reminded, "Be careful, that snake statue is a protective formation." This made Su Fang even more curious. He walked forward and saw a large number of treasure chests in the center of the 3-headed winged serpent. Some of the treasure chests exuded an indescribable spiritual qi, while most of the treasure chests were demonic qi. It appeared to be a triangular altar, with the 3-headed winged serpent guarding the triangular area. Su Fang used his paragon sensory ability and discovered that there was a weak but mysterious array between the 3 winged serpents. Once it was activated, the 3-headed winged serpent would fiercely attack. With ancient devil Baishan's height, just how terrifying would the 3-headed winged serpent statue be? Law promptly said, "Don't worry, the power of the 3-headed winged serpent formation is truly powerful. Its quality has surpassed that of a high-grade Dao item, reaching the level of a top-grade Dao item. This 3-headed serpent statue is a good treasure, and it was refined from a real winged serpent. It's not like the 2 icy statues you obtained before." Then I'll fuse with it. I estimate that this three-headed winged serpent formation is a top-grade Dao item that ancient devil Bai Shan used as a precaution against experts who infiltrated the Dao rite. That's a legendary peerless treasure. Even an expert like the Elder can only use a high-grade Dao item. Entering the formation is very simple. You've already obtained ancient devil Bai Shan's will imprint. You just need to release your own aura to enter. It really was simple. Su Fang felt that he had seen too little. He racked his brains, but the essence of the matter was very simple. He immediately activated his true qi. Most of it was devil qi, especially the ancient devil gold core's aura. He also released his yuan spirit and magic power. He was still somewhat worried. He took small steps and began to climb the steps of the triangular altar. Besides his heartbeat and breathing, there was only the sound of footsteps. This place had been sealed for countless years. Su Fang was the first cultivator to come here and break the seal. When he finally reached the edge, there were terrifying winged serpent statues on both sides. He sucked in a breath of cold air and fearfully stepped forward. Whoosh! He stepped in and landed on the ground. The winged serpent didn't move at all. However, his footsteps created a special devil light, as if he had triggered some kind of restriction. Su Fang relaxed and looked at the three-headed winged serpent. He wanted to collect them, but he decided against it. He would first collect the treasures left behind by ancient devil Bai Shan. There were more than 1,000 treasure chests. They were densely packed and neatly piled up. He activated his devil qi and opened all the treasure chests in an instant. Bursts of spiritual light, bursts of devilish qi, and immortal clouds were released from the treasure chests, giving color to the gloomy and cold devilish cavern. Pills, they're all high-grade, top-grade, and even peerless grade. Some are immortal essence pills, some are transformation pills, and most are devil Dao pills. Dao items, even the worst Dao items are high-grade. Most of them are high-grade, and there are even some top-grade Dao items. Incredible, incredible! There are so many spiritual items. This immortal fruit is probably over 100,000 years old. This spiritual flower contains an astonishing amount of demonic energy. It is probably over 10,000 years old as well. Even a single petal contains a power that is 1,000 times stronger than me. It also contains a supreme amount of demonic energy. There are also so many immortal stones and gems. They're all high-grade spirit veins. There are actually more than a dozen spirit veins. At this moment, all the lids of the treasure chests had been opened. Su Fang looked down and was so shocked that his jaw almost fell off. His eyes were almost the size of walnut. Magic treasures, spirit items, immortal stones, and immortal stones were all there. Moreover, there were a dozen immortal stone spirit veins. Each of them was over half a mile long. This was too shocking. Not to mention a dozen or so, even a single meridian would be the best treasure for cultivation and the establishment of a dojo, no matter where it was. Ancient devil Bai Shan is too rich. Back then, I met the 6 lords of fertility in the minor world. That miser couldn't have collected so many treasures in his lifetime. Su Fang grinned as he rubbed his palms together. Then, among the treasures, he saw a very special devil artifact. It was indeed a devil artifact, not an ordinary treasure. Its quality was very strong and terrifying. Su Fang could sense that it was of the same quality as the three-headed winged serpent. In that case, this Dao artifact should be a Dao artifact that surpassed the high grade and reached the supreme grade. When he arrived at the treasure box where the Dao treasure was located, the aura of the Dharma treasure was incomparable. Su Fang had yet to see what the Dharma treasure looked like. Behind the treasure box, there were 2 more treasure boxes releasing the aura of Dharma treasures. They had reached the level of a top-grade Dao treasure. 3 top-grade Dao items. This was beyond Su Fang's expectations. Taking a closer look, the first treasure box contained a demonic blade. It wasn't a sword, nor was it a saber. Instead, it looked like a saber or a sword. It was about a foot long, and the tip of the demonic blade was extremely sharp, just like the sharp needle of a poisonous bee. Beside the treasure chest, there were 3 devil words that contained Ancient Devil by Shan's Devil Chi, Immortal Piercing Blade. Its shape didn't seem outstanding, but Su Fong felt that the Immortal Piercing Blade was overbearing and murderous. When it was used, the Immortal Piercing Blade was used to kill. It was as if it wouldn't come out unless it killed someone. It should be a treasure that Ancient Devil by Shan had used before. When he arrived at the 2nd and 3rd treasure chests, he saw a black flying sword on the left. When he looked at the right, Su Fong couldn't stop smiling. He was surprised and happy. It was a true demon blood plate. Black flying swords. There were too many flying swords everywhere in the great world. Everyone had a few. They were essential for immortals and cultivators. Su Fong didn't care about the black flying sword. But when he saw the true demon blood plate in the treasure chest on the right, Su Fong couldn't help it. There were also engravings beside the treasure chest. It should have been left behind by Ancient Devil by Shan himself, Heavenly Demon Blood Plate. It wasn't the true demon blood plate, but the heavenly demon blood plate. He summoned the true demon blood plate in his body and compared it carefully. The two were generally the same, but the surface engravings and colors were different. Their auras were even more different. The difference in quality was like heaven and earth. The true demon blood plate was probably at the level of a true demon, but the heavenly demon blood plate was definitely a peerless treasure used by a heavenly demon in a great world. It was also an essence soul treasure. What a treasure! The true demon blood plate has always been very useful. Later, I gave it to Gue Gue to fuse with. But after coming to the great world, it wasn't very useful. I didn't expect to obtain a heavenly demon blood plate here today. What I wanted came to me. The delighted Su Fong touched the heavenly demon blood plate in the treasure chest. Then, he looked at the black flying sword in the treasure chest. There were also engravings: soul-chasing devil sword, immortal piercing blade, heavenly demon blood plate, soul-chasing devil sword. 3 heaven-defying Tao artifacts that surpassed high grade and reached the peak grade. Let alone one, even the junior elders and elders would dream of having one. Now that Su Fong had obtained 3 of them, he had become a rich man on the same level as Elder Yu. Not to mention the many resources and treasures around him. 3 heaven-defying peak-grade Tao artifacts. They are good treasures. I can't take them out casually. And with my cultivation base, I can't use them. Aside from the heavenly demon blood plate, I can fuse with them. As for the immortal piercing blade and soul-chasing devil sword, I can only use them. Looking at the treasures in the 3 treasure chests, Su Fong couldn't bear to part with them. These 3 treasures should have been used by Ancient Devil by Shan when he was alive. Because of this, Su Fong had fused with the power of the Bai Shan ancient demon. Logically speaking, he could activate 3 magic treasures. However, he could only activate the heavenly devil blood plate slightly.